What up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome as we continue our trek through the Dragon Ball Super era of the Mangalorian. Jordan, Danny, what's up? How are you doing?
I'm good, man.
Damn, man, I got all excited.
Just getting my day going, you know.
I forgot to put my headphones in. Me too, actually. Let me put my headphones in because I don't want them to hear you double because they will echo in here. But anyways, it's funny. Just before we went on the air, I said I was having a little bit of a headache, and Air Dog's like, I just had a head MRI. Does this mean I now have superpowers? Well, you know what? Let us know in the next 24 hours. Speaking of superpower, somebody who has a lot of superpowers is the assassin the assassin Hito, as they call him in the Japanese version. He gets a lot of the shine here in Dragon Ball Super Manga Volume 2 as we continue our trek through the Super era and the Universe 6 tournament. So going in, first of all, I love the cover art here and the different things that Toyotaro did, reminding us of the different teams. We left off here with Goku versus Frost. That's the battle that we were on. This fight is in many ways another. There we go. I had to fix our thing. This fight is another like sort of play on Goku versus Frieza. I think that they reference it here and they reference it again in the Tournament of Power, and that's probably why they chose to even go with Super Saiyan Goku, because that's the form that's most associated with Jordan. You're gone for some reason, man. It says El
Yeah,
God.
I'm fixing it. I don't know why I did that.
All right. But it's most associated. Super Saiyan is most associated with the Frieza fight. That's the first time that we saw it. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah. Let me fix my camera real quick. You just go on.
So Cabba reacts and says that's his true form, which would imply that even though Frost is well known in Universe 6, no one's seen his true form. Probably only seen his base form and his third form, the form, the alien form, the what do you call it? The alien from the movie Alien, that one, xenomorph form. So Frost comes in with a blast, tries to hit Goku, doesn't quite connect. Goku bounces it away. At this point, Goku's not even remotely near his true power. We haven't seen any of his forms, his god forms yet. He doesn't even see the need to do them. They're right here. Frost goes for a barrage of ki blast. Goku blocks them. I do want to say this about the Dragon Ball Super manga. One thing that I will say, and there's a debate amongst fans about whether or not the original Dragon Ball manga is better in color or in black and white. And I'll tell you that I think the Super manga, you're back. All right, great. The Super manga is better in color. I think color really makes it pop. I think the colors make everything just so much more vibrant. And I can look at any of these pages and just just look at them and just feel good. And like it's good art throughout. I think it actually enhances Toyotaro's art.
Yeah. The only problem I've ever really had with Toyotaro's art is that sometimes, because the thing is like people have this really false perception of like what it takes to be a mangaka and like how art works within mangaka. Because a lot of people think that you're supposed to like draw a portrait in like every individual little panel, when that's just not the case. In a lot of cases, you're going to have to simplify the art. There's a lot of things you're going to have to do to compensate for the fact that you're drawing for a manga, you know. So I've always kind of given him the benefit of the doubt. Of course, he's still no Toriyama, but in terms of like being a mangaka and how hard it is to be a mangaka, I've always like appreciated his talent for that. But my main problem with how Toyotaro does things is that in comparison to Toriyama's, this is a good example of it actually. The page on the left here, you'll notice that the sideways panel is there's like no white space between the panels there.
Yeah,
And you'll notice how there's like minimal white space between the panels sometimes.
very small.
That makes it to where this is an eyeful, right? One of the things that Toriyama did really well is when he did his paneling, he would space out the panels enough that you could look at each individual panel and absorb all the information. And when you have your panels too close together like this, sometimes it makes it hard to do that, and everything kind of blends together and looks like a blob of art instead of individual panels that you're supposed to be absorbing one at a time. So this does look really cool. I'm not going to say it doesn't look cool, but in terms of paneling, sometimes it can seem like a mess.
Do you think the colors enhance the manga, the super manga? I mean,
yeah, of course. Yeah, I do think that the colored version of the manga also has improved line art as well. So yeah, it's overall improved. But
yeah,
go ahead. But I will say that at times, particularly in Toyotaro's like early promotional career, sometimes the pages can look like a mess and like a just a bunch of images stuffed together instead of like a the flow is just not as good. It's very similar to what we've talked about with the old Mangalorian. Toriyama was just really good at making it to where when you looked at a panel, your eyes can naturally go to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and you could follow everything and comprehend everything really easy. So I do think Toyotaro's art looks really good here, but in terms of like being able to easily comprehend things, there's just so much going on. There's so many lines. There's just so much art that it's kind of hard to like let your eyes rest and just absorb the information. So
Toriyama has always been an inspired panelist. That's like one of the best things about the manga, and it's something Torishima has even criticized Toyotaro about. We did a whole spiel on that in a previous stream that we did together, a Super Magic show. I don't want to get into that too much, but I will say that something that is going to be repeated time and time again, I think, on these is Toyotaro is going to improve. Yeah, he gets better and better, but Toriyama was a very special artist, a one of a kind guy who had this natural talent that is not something everybody's born with, and because of that natural talent, he could make everything look so much easier than it was. And so I do not think Toyotaro, as of right now, has reached the level of Toriyama. He doesn't really have to. He doesn't really have to reach that level because, we're talking about Akira Toriyama. But because he is sort of following in Toriyama's footsteps, that's definitely a goal that he should at least try to reach. And I'm sure he is trying. It's just that's God-given talent.
Yeah.
Random Hero says, looking forward to the new arc and the El Gato villain. It's no longer your internet connection. Now El Gato's to blame. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the battle continues. Offensive and defensive maneuvers. I do like the way Toyotaro draws faces, though. He's really good at that. Like shocking faces, anger faces. That I've actually struggled with that. I used to draw a comic book too. A lot of folks don't know this. When I was a little kid in the 2nd grade, I drew a comic book called The Unstoppable Ninjas. And let's just say that my art talent was nowhere near Toyotaro's. In fact, Toyotaro is taking shits in the bathroom that are probably more artistic than what I put down on a piece of paper. And I struggle with making faces.
Yeah, his expression work for the most part's pretty good. Every once in a while he'll draw a face and I'm like, but for the most part, his expression work is pretty good.
I agree. Yeah, I agree with that completely. So Frost is putting over Goku. He's never messed him like him before. And then this part right here pops me, especially if you're a fan of the original manga, because this is the pose that Frieza makes in his 4th form when he goes to 50% power. And this is obviously a reference to the original manga. There's no denying it. But because Frost is Universe 6 Frieza, you might as well squeeze in all the references.
The Universe 6 arc is full of references to old Dragon Ball because of, the fact that it's a mirror universe. They're trying to show you something familiar to play on the fact that it's a mirror universe. What I find very interesting here is that this is the first time that Frost has really kind of started to let the mask slip. And I think that's really cool because that's like Goku's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Goku's the one that's kind of like bringing out who he truly is, which is interesting because he changes Frieza in a positive way, but here it seems like although Frost is getting excited in a similar way to Frieza, this ultimately just serves to have Frost show that he's more Frieza-like than he let on, because he wants to basically he's kind of like bringing out Frieza's personality traits in a sense, because he's so desperate to like make sure that he wins so he doesn't have a blow to his ego that he ends up like letting his actual personality leak out a little bit. So I think that's a really interesting thing that happens in this fight.
Yeah. Though that's the big difference between Frieza and Frost is Frieza doesn't care what you think about him. He lets it slip a lot easier when he's angry. Frost is trying to manipulate a whole. Frost is like an evil politician, bro. Somebody who will come, and literally the anime portrays that. He'll come on television and he'll say all these things that people want to hear, but then behind the scenes he'll be doing something very selfish, and that's almost all the politicians in the world. So I like this part right here. It's another reference to Beerus and Whis and the one chopper. Frost goes for a right hook. Goku dodges, chops him. Now Frost feels it. And Goku straight up tells him, he's like, I'm sorry to tell you, but this, sorry about that. Let's go up. Where am I? Did I go? There we go. I was trying to zoom in a little bit. There we go. I hit the wrong. I'm sorry. I had the shift key, not the control key. So Goku tells him it's over, dude. He's basically telling him like what he told Raccoon. Look, I'm already stronger than you. Just go train more, and let's have a rematch. What he tells everybody. Goku says
it's the same thing he told Frieza.
Right. And here, if you look closely, you can see the little thing on Frost's knuckle. Now, if you remember the anime version, this is the infamous Goku through the fight, which was one of the first times in my YouTube career where I was pulling my hair out and wanting to choke myself at people not listening to the fact that Goku didn't throw the fight. And of course, this is my thing with Dragon Ball theories. I'm getting back on the big screen for this, okay? And this is something I have said for years now, and I'll continue to say it about, hey, Geekdom, I have a theory. If you have a theory about something in Dragon Ball, try to think more than just 3 seconds about that theory and try to think if it actually makes sense. Test your theory against scrutiny, because that's what the scientific method does. If you have a theory that Goku threw the fight against Frost, you need to tell me why. What's in it for Goku? Why would a guy like Goku, who's winning a fight, who doesn't throw fights, and who loves to fight, want to not fight? And not a single one could give me that. And that's kind of when I started learning about this Dragon Ball fandom, that people's theories are never well thought out. That's why every time I see, hey, Geekdom, I have a theory, I'm already like shaking, because it could be a genius theory. There are some really smart people, some really smart fans out there, or it could be one that's just somebody talking some shit and they don't even think 2 seconds. And then when I think 2 seconds, they're like, oh yeah. Or they get mad at me. No, my favorite ones when they get mad at me for thinking, bro. They'll throw me a dumb theory and I'll respond back and I'll say, but then something like with a smart ass tone, I'll say some shit like, but how does that make any sense? We're gonna have to be an asshole about it. Okay, and then it becomes I'm an asshole because you're dumb. The only reason you think I'm an asshole is because you're dumb. And this Frost Goku through the fight theory was one of the dumbest, most ill thought out things. And the thing that irritates me about Dragon Ball theories is it's always one guy that says it and then everybody else repeats it. Nobody thinks. The one we got going on now, age 1000. Is that Broly and Chi-Lai's son? You know it's not. Everyone knows it's not. Now, there are some people who have said it as a joke, and that's different. But there are people who actually believe it, because what happens is it starts off as a joke, and then somebody makes a meme about it or a TikTok. Oh, yeah, that would make sense. Just because, they have a similar haircut, even though it's 300 years after the events of Broly. Yeah.
Well, I think their ability, a lot of people like that, their ability to retain information is not that great. So they don't have
media literacy.
They don't have the ability to like throw. I agree with you. Like they should be like just using common knowledge and logic to be like, well, does this meet any level of scrutiny without falling apart? Right. And they just don't do that because I don't think it's necessarily that they are incapable of it. I think they just don't have the basis of information in most cases to throw it through that cycle of whether or not it holds up any scrutiny, because a lot of these people don't have an understanding of Dragon Ball that's based in reality. It's based
not just that, but they also think it sounds cool and they say it because it sounds cool, but it doesn't make sense. Like right. Uncle Raditz is another one that makes no sense. Vegeta wishing back the Saiyans. If you understand Vegeta's character, makes no sense. Like there's tons. There's literally hundreds. Maybe someday I'll do a video called the top 10 Dragon Ball theories that make no sense. And top 10 Dragon Ball fan theories that never made any sense. Goku Black is Goten makes no sense. This is one of the ones that I'm bringing it up because this is one of the ones that I experienced when I was covering Dragon Ball early on in my career, because this is still like 2016. This is still pretty early. So out goes Goku. Goku's out. Now that is a shocking moment. That is like, whoa, what the hell happened? And everyone thinks that Frost just hit him. There's the shocked look on their faces, right? And then Goku's like, I don't even know what hit me. And then Frost is like, oh, good. And then I love Whis. Oh my, Goku didn't win the match. Wait a minute. What? Goku didn't win? What the hell? And and now it's and Jocko is the first one. Remember, Jocko's not very smart. And by the way, that's a Toriyama trope. If you've read like Dr. Slump, Toriyama loves to take characters that are really, really highly intelligent and make them idiots. Senbei Norimaki is the greatest example in Toriyama's character history of somebody who is a super genius, can invent time machines and cyborgs and machines that can alter aging and see through walls, but yet he doesn't understand the concept of how to make babies and just,
Yeah. Well, he's also kind of a slave to his inhibitions, And I think that's the main thing that Toriyama does with intelligent characters that I think is interesting, that kind of makes them seem less intelligent, is that they still have human inhibitions. So he always makes it to where they're very intelligent, but there's some sort of weakness that they have in the sense that they're still human and they have some form of a desire. I think he did that with Senbei, and I think he also did that with Jocko, because Jocko's just lazy and wants to do whatever he wants to do all the time. Despite the fact that he's very, very smart, like he's still lazy and he still tries to get out of doing his job constantly because he doesn't really want to do it,
Yeah, I mean, I love that about his characters. Senbei's my favorite Slump character because it's constantly that, and he's the most entertaining in my opinion. I love this part right here where Piccolo, because he's next. Is there any chance I can possibly win? Goku says, not in a million years. And Piccolo's like, you jerk, sometimes you're too honest. And he's like, but I think you better wear him down and make it easy for Vegeta to beat him, which is actually, that's insulting right there, bro. Yeah, wear him down and Vegeta will take care.
I think that's something that I think it is mean, but I do think that, there is a lot of stuff that happens purposely in Super to kind of humble Piccolo and foster a strong desire in him to get even stronger. Like, it's very, very subtle, but like they do try to do something with Piccolo's character in Super. It's just Piccolo is such a side character at this point. It's hard to make it super blatant, but you can tell, like, there's multiple instances in the manga where he sees how strong Goku and Vegeta is, and he's like, it literally, like, almost like humiliates him and frustrates him to no end. Like it to the point that he's like, if something bad happens, we might just have to rely on Goku and Vegeta. And he's never had that attitude before. Like he's always been the type to be like, we're gonna have to be ready to take care of our own problems. But you like it through Super, you can tell like the gap is so large that he's kind of starting to become complacent in that sense.
I agree with everything you're saying, and we see that illustrated in the Tournament of Power buildup with him and Gohan. And we also see that illustrated in Superhero. That was the ultimate culmination of that. Like, oh, Goku and Vegeta, they're not here right now. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. But Piccolo is useful in the Broly movie because he's able to demonstrate the fusion.
Yep, that's true.
All right. Pedro says, do you remember that theory I sent you that Black Frieza could use the Super Dragon Balls to erase the gods in order to truly become the strongest? I don't remember you being the one that sent it. I do remember that being something that was sent to me. So I guess it was you. Like I tend to remember like concepts more than who sent it, unless it's somebody I've known for a long time. And I've known you for a long time, Pedro, but not like, like now that you're in my streams and in the Discord and whatnot. And also, like, I know your art more than you, which is nothing wrong with that.
It's a very, very plausible thing for Frieza to do, but at the same time, it doesn't create a story. And in that sense,
it can.
In that sense, I'm not sure. What I mean is, Dragon Ball as a series is way more likely to just have Frieza do some wild, crazy stuff, very similar to the Heaters from the Granola arc, where he got all that information on the characters that he wanted to take down. They're way more likely to do something like that than they are to just have a character use the Dragon Balls to destroy other characters. Like Dragon Ball in terms of like how they approach their writing, they always try to stretch everything out and not take shortcuts. In terms of
I agree with you, Jordan, but I think the modern era of Dragon Ball does take a lot of shortcuts compared to the old era. In the old era, it took Cell how many chapters to become perfect? Whereas if Cell was written now in the current era of Dragon Ball, he would absorb 17 and 18 in one chapter.
You can't write, unless it's going to be moral level storytelling, you can't write Cell.
But that's my point. Is modern Dragon Ball? Look at Resurrection F. Frieza trains off screen, and all of a sudden he leapfrogs everybody else in the series. That's modern writing. What I was gonna say is, when Pedro first sent me this, I'm pretty sure that I said that what I said is there's two problems with that theory, and it's not really a problem. It's just something to think about. Number one, Frieza does not know the language of the gods, although they can find a workaround for that. And number two is, would the Super Dragon Balls actually affect Zeno? And those are not, I'm not saying they would or they wouldn't. It's really up to you. It can be either or, but that is something worth thinking about. I do think though that is something Frieza would do, because Frieza is a villain. And I think if it were Toriyama writing that story, he would have done something to where Frieza would have had to have beaten somebody to get the Super Dragon Balls, done it, and then the joke, because Toriyama has to put humor in everything, is that Frieza is the king of the multiverse, but it's too hard on him. He's getting too many requests from people. He's getting too much communication, and he's like losing his mind because it's too much. Like, controlling all the planets in Universe 7 is one thing, but the multiverse, that would be a comedy scene that Toriyama would write, even though eventually Goku and Vegeta would take him down.
Now Frieza has the Heaters at his side too, and
his army is growing little by little. That we know.
He can take Maki to Zeno, and he could probably find out the phrase to use the Super Dragon Balls from Zeno now that he has Maki and they know where Zeno is. So there's all kind. I did a whole video about how now that Frieza has the Heaters at his side, like, it changes things a little bit. He's capable of doing more, and Zeno, like, he's capable of doing more than he was capable of. He's the fact that he just kind of let the Heaters, like, use information to their advantage the way that he did in that arc shows that that Frieza is kind of operating on a more intelligent level now in comparison to what he used to. So
I want to address real quick this comment from Cassius real quick. He says too many people call Moro a Cell ripoff, which is stupid because they aren't too comparable. Here's the truth, bro. Let's just be real. Everything is a ripoff of something. Everything is inspired by something. Even Toriyama's Dragon Ball, as creative and inventive as it is, borrows a lot from Journey to the West and other mythical tales. It's just how it is. And there's nothing wrong with that. My favorite filmmaker of all time, Quentin Tarantino, he borrows all the time. And if you don't believe me, I'll give you an easy way to know. Watch Reservoir Dogs, which most of you have probably seen. If you haven't, shame on you. And then watch the Korean movie called City on Fire. Reservoir Dogs is basically City on Fire with American actors. So they're not exactly the same thing, but there's even watch the trailer. Look up the trailer to Reservoir Dogs and the City on Fire, and you'll be like, okay, I see the similarities. That's just how it is. What was the line, Jordan? Great artist copy, good artist copy, great artist steal. Have you ever heard that line before?
yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the name of a documentary, too, about the rise of Apple and Microsoft that you should check out. Jordan, what do you think about Piccolo saying, I am not Namekian, I am the reincarnation of Demon King Piccolo? You're kind of both, buddy, but what do you think about that line? I like it.
I think a lot of people heard this line and were like, what the heck? I remember Piccolo and Z saying
Wait a minute.
That he was
The Namekian that long lost his name, right?
Yeah. I think I don't think when Piccolo said that back then that he was saying that he was going to abandon his ideologies. And I think when Piccolo talks about this, Piccolo still basically has to acknowledge his identity. That's part of his arc in Z. Like he is unique, and to pretend that he's not the reincarnation of Demon King Piccolo would be delusional. But I think the reason that he says that here is because Piccolo's philosophy, his the ideas that he takes into battle, which is something that was focused on back whenever King Piccolo was first introduced. It was sort of like a counter philosophy to Goku's philosophy back then. It's the same philosophy that Piccolo tries to teach Gohan. That's like the most blatant example of like what Piccolo's ideology is.
I agree with what OS says here. That's just a little thing. Like he is a Namekian, he's proud of it, but he sees himself as more than that.
Well, yeah, but the reason.
But I also
the reason he's saying that here is because that's one of the things that they beat into Piccolo and Gohan's character in Super is this idea of being a warrior. And Piccolo got this idea of being a warrior from being a member of the Demon Clan. Like his ideology and like in terms of like how he approaches things in battle comes from being the reincarnation of Demon King Piccolo, not from being a Namekian. Namekians are peaceful people.
Right. Exactly.
They're not.
He's trying to tell them, don't think that I'm like these other soft ass Namekians.
Exactly.
But the joke's on him because a lot of Namekians in Universe 6 are not good people either, as we found out later. That's the joke. That's the inverse. The Saiyans are peaceful in Universe 6, and the Namekians are the assholes. Which, by the way, man, that's something I wish they explored more. Like the Universe 6 Namekians, like how, you know what I mean? Like how they are and how those Dragon Balls, like if they have their own Namekian balls, which they do, like things like that, and what was done with them. So, I mean, I like it. Piccolo here is choosing to go with a long-range attack. Why not if you've got stretchy powers? Also, David E419, I see your super chat. We're going to get to that a little bit later on. Let me get further into this volume because I do want to talk about what you said. I do have an answer for you. So Piccolo tries to combine short range and long range. Piccolo, of course, is a consummate martial artist, but then bam, he's out. Like that was almost too easy.
It was too easy. I mean,
Right.
it was ridiculous.
And now Beerus is freaking out, and this is when freaking Jocko pulls a fucking what's the name of that game? What's the name of that game that that he likes that he wants me to play? Ace Attorney. Ace Attorney. Objection. Objection.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Ace Attorney over here. And Jocko, who has really good eyesight. What about the fact that Namekians have really good hearing, but Jocko has really good eyesight? Has pointed out that. Cool. And I love how Champa's like, "You're nuts. Frost is a man of honor. He would never cheat." Okay, then inspect him. I love this. Let me tell you why I love this. Because I grew up a fan of the greatest sport in the world, professional wrestling. The only real sport, if you ask me, the sport of men. And professional wrestling has, okay, pro wrestling is the only sport in the world where a bad guy can cheat and the entire crowd can see it. But the NBA might actually have this as well. The whole crowd can see that he's cheating, but the referee can't. And there's classic times in wrestling where a villain will put on brass knuckles behind the referee's back, or he'll put on tape, or he'll hit the good guy in the balls, which is cheating. Frost is a cheater. He used the poison dart that he enlarged into his body to cheat. I love this. I actually wish I would have made more wrestling comparisons back when it first happened. Or maybe I didn't. I don't remember.
Well, it's funny because I don't think Frieza would do this.
I don't. He's not as slimy. Frieza would actually kill you to your face, and I like that.
Yeah. Frieza doesn't like having to demean himself in any way. He would consider this demeaning because it's cheap and it shows that it's basically kind of like a sign of weakness in some sense.
Yes, tell him.
So,
which, by the way, I have an idea for you, but go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it is a really cool way to contrast Frost to Frieza, because initially Frost does start to get excited against Goku, and you think, oh wow, Goku's having his classic impact on Frost, but that's not what's happening. Frost, instead of like actually wanting to get stronger and humiliate Goku that way, is willing to, cheat to humiliate him, and that's just not Frieza like at all.
No, but what I love about Frieza and Frost, I love the way these guys are written. Damn it, guess there's no use denying anymore. At least be thankful you're not dead. I like that line, bro. That's a Frieza line. That's Frieza.
It is a Frieza line.
That's Frieza right there. At least be thankful you're not dead. Frieza's the kind of guy who will, if you watch or read Dragon Ball with good translations, Frieza's like, you should be honored that I'm gonna kill you. And what I love is it's the same thing that Cell does, but with a twist, because Cell would say, you should be honored that you're going to be a part of my perfect body, to like 17 and 18, or to like the humans he's sucking. You should be honored to be a part of this perfect, the narcissism and whatnot. It's beautiful. Again, man, Toriyama, sometimes I feel like you, me, and Derek are screaming at the top of our lungs about how good Toriyama is. And the rest of the world, the rest of the English-speaking world is like, doesn't it feel like that sometimes?
No, it does feel like that, but I do think that
nostalgia.
People don't like having their preconceived notions disturbed, and there's also a lot of statements and stuff that are floating around that people like to use to their advantage to try and demean Toriyama and make him seem lesser. So, it's unfortunate, but
yeah. Now, what I was going to suggest is I was thinking, I got to talk to Derek about this, to follow up on the two videos on the two Mangalorians that we did going into Goku and Vegeta. Frieza might be a good third one for the three of us.
Frieza's a good character. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, some people wanted me to do Gohan, but I feel like we might have more to talk about with Frieza than Gohan. You know what I mean?
There's a lot to talk about with Gohan. I'm here to tell you, but Yeah, Frieza sounds cool too, but there's definitely a lot to talk about with Gohan.
I agree with
Not
this.
necessarily early in Super because he's not really prominent early in Super, but like later on, the Moral Arc era, uh, Dragon Ball Super superhero era, there's a lot there. Now, in terms of like Z, there's tons for Gohan and Z.
Oh yeah, I mean we'll cover everything, but I mean just so people really understand that character, like really understand it. The good news is that I will say that the English dub did not butcher Gohan's story, thank God. So most Dragon Ball Z fans that are Gohan fans, at the very least, they're getting a cleaner version of Gohan. Yeah. Right. Unlike Vegeta and Goku, who were fucked over. Now, I like this part right here because Champa is straight up saying, how dare you embarrass me? I'll destroy you for this. And Vegeta's like, wait, no, hold on. Because what happened was Frost got disqualified. But Vegeta, seeing an opportunity to beat up somebody who looks a lot like the guy he hates more than anyone, is like, yeah, let me fight him. See, the thing that's funny about this is this could have very much backfired on them if Frost had another tip. But Vegeta was so, and this is a classic. Okay, we talked about this during the Mangalorian. This is a classic Vegeta's arrogance and boneheadedness getting the best of him and his rage. But while it backfired against guys like Cell when he let him become perfect, here it didn't backfire because Vegeta was so many levels above Frost. Remember, there's a big difference. Vegeta never saw perfect Cell. He just heard from second form Cell how strong he would become. Vegeta has already been watching Frost fight Goku and Piccolo. So,
yeah,
like, I can take this guy.
This is definitely giving Vegeta some love.
And look, there he is putting rat poison on his claw, bro. He takes the little, the whatever it's called, that thing, the droplet thing. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I thought that was
this is definitely like Toyotaro giving Vegeta some love and Toriyama, but what I think is interesting about this is, yes, he does conveniently look like Frieza. But when I think of Vegeta and I think of Vegeta's character and I think of what would his main motivation would be to humiliate Frost like this, it's not even necessarily that he looks like Frieza. It's the fact that he cheated. It's the fact that he was so cheap. Because Vegeta, you'll see it whenever he fights Cabba. When it comes to fighting dishonorably, it disgusts him. Like, and he really likes to relish in the opportunity to humiliate somebody who fights in a way that he considers weak or dishonorable. So
I agree with you, Mecha J. I think you make a good point. I don't disagree with you at all. By the way, y'all, if I take one of your comments from the chat and I post it at the bottom, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are going to comment on it. It's just going to show that either I agree or it's something that is going along with what we're saying, like adding, like if you say something that adds context to what Jordan and I are saying, I'll throw it down there so the viewers can have something else to kind of stimulate their minds. So Beerus points out the wound, telling Vegeta to be careful, which is funny because if I were Goku, I'd be like, why don't you suck it out? Like suck out the poison. Just because I like the word suck being used in Dragon Ball all the time. So here's when Vegeta says, why don't you go last? So at this point, I already knew Goku's going to go back at the end. Like, you just know, like, he's going to fight again at the end. It's already been telegraphed. Vegeta goes Super Saiyan. Remember, Vegeta knows about Frost's trick. He goes in very aggressively, as Vegeta would, coming in with some Muay Thai knees. I love this knee right here, bro. This is classic Muay Thai. You know about Muay Thai, Jordan. We've watched fights together.
Oh, yeah.
We watched UFC on Saturday.
Yes, we did.
With that boring-ass main event, bro.
Yeah, me and my brother were talking about that event, and I kept telling him, I'm like, I understand that, like, grappling is useful in fights.
But not for the BMF title, Jordan, I'm sorry. Not for the BMF title. The BMF title is the bad motherfucker title. You're supposed to go out there and bang.
Yeah. I understand that it's an efficient way to win a match. I understand why he did it. He was taking advantage of the fact that the other fighter did not have good ground game, but it made the fight very boring.
If it's a BMF fight, it needs to be a brawl.
Yeah.
That's what everybody thinks. So here, Vegeta ping pongs him out of he's out just easily just ping pongs him out. And of course, what's funny about Hit, bro, and this is something that this is why I think people aren't really big fans of Jiren. Hit's doing the same shit that Jiren would do later, bro, where he's in the same position, not saying a word, keeping the mystery going. It's kind of the same shit.
Yeah. I would say it's probably a martial arts trope more than it's a Dragon Ball thing.
I know, but it's too similar because it's, you know what I mean? The arcs are too close together.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you're right. They are very close together, but I don't think it's exactly the same, but there's a lot of stuff like that happens in the original Budokai Tenkaichi, you know. I think it's just with those two particular arcs, there's one guy who's the focus in a different way in comparison to the other arcs. I think it's the big thing.
Silent Saiyan says, after reading the manga, I think Super Remake is necessary because the DBS manga is different than the anime. Okay, I'm going to challenge you on this, bro. If that's your reasoning, then every anime needs to be remade. I disagree with you completely. That is not why the remake needs to happen. I don't even think the remake even needed to happen. But if you're going to give me a reason, it's to improve upon what's already there and make everything better structured and more linear. I don't think it has anything to do with the manga. As I have reported here on the Geekdom 101 YouTube channel, there will be things from the manga being added to the remake of Dragon Ball Super, but it is not going to be a remake where it's just the manga. You're not going to get 100% of the manga. I'm telling you this now, 8 months ahead of time, so you don't bitch about it when the super manga or when the super anime returns. It's not going to be the same thing, brother. So do not look forward to that. But there will be some things from the manga that are added. Also, as a fan of pro wrestling, the fact that he gets stretchered out right here, bro. See, this puts a smile on my face because stretcher jobs are like classic wrestling angles. Now, here comes Magetta, bro. The big steam engine who drinks lava, bro. This is an underrated character, bro. When we found out there was a whole race of automatons, right, like that Toriyama came up with, the first thing that I thought, Jordan, was, as a fan of Transformers, let's go there. Let's see the planet. We still haven't seen it. But when Daima was coming out and I first found out about the Tamagami, you know, I've said this publicly, the Tamagami are my favorite new idea Toriyama came up with. Magetta reminds me a lot of the Tamagami, especially 3.
He does. Yeah.
What do you think about Magetta now 10 years later, bro? Like, do you think that we could have seen more from him? Do you think this is enough? Do you have any thoughts on Magetta now?
What always interested me about Magetta is that he's a robot that seems to be counted as an actual life form. Like you remember in the Cell Saga, 16, he didn't really count as a living creature. He seemed like one, but he didn't count.
He's a robot. He's a full robot.
This creature, on the other hand, is considered like a living, breathing, like he has a soul. So that's where my mind went when I first saw this character, because it was like new. It was new territory because it kind of recontextualizes a little bit of the stuff that Dragon Ball put forward earlier in its story, in the sense that there's like this weird line and distinction between human life and machine life that's kind of being blurred here with this character.
And there's also Team Universe 3, which was all robots too, like living machines.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that's just Toriyama. The thing about Akira Toriyama, if you read Wonder Island, you'll see a lot of this. Akira Toriyama's a big fan of sci-fi, not just Star Wars and Star Trek. I mean, that's obvious, but clearly he was watching stuff like The Twilight Zone. He was watching cheap B movies. He's a big fan of the Toho Toku movies. Everybody associates Godzilla with Toho, and they should. It's Godzilla. But Toho also made a lot of science fiction movies that had no kaiju in it. There's one called Amoeba. I actually reviewed a couple of them on World of Geekdom. We watched a few of them in the Discord as well. So Toho is really big on science fiction, like old school sci-fi, like Planet of the Apes. And this character Magetta comes off like pure science fiction. You know what I mean? Like pure classic, like 1950s and 60s black and white science fiction. That's where Toriyama's getting this from. Also, those of you who have submitted super chats, I see 2 of them there. We will get to them shortly. Please be patient because we're going to get to those. I promise. You have my word on that. So Magetta's a lot stronger than Vegeta thought. He tries to hit him and he realizes, okay, this guy's body really is made of some kind of iron. And he knocks Vegeta on his ass. I think it's funny that Vegeta, he's just, he can't be like the androids. And I hit Android 18 and it didn't hurt. No, this guy's made of he's made of something else, brother.
He also weighs a shit ton. He's actually
cracking the arena.
Also ridiculously heavy, which we're going to get into here in just a second.
Vegeta goes for some ki blast from afar, but Magetta. See, the thing about Magetta, let's use JRPG logic here. Magetta is like the metal slimes from Dragon Quest. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, number 1, shame on you. Number 2, every RPG has a character like this where their defense is super high. So when you hit them, right, it's called a tank. When you hit them, they absorb punishment. Bam, 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 bam. That's what Magetta is. That's what he is. He's like the big tank that just absorbs punishment. So when you think about Champa putting his team together, this kind of makes sense. You want to have a tank on your team. You want to have somebody like Cabba. You want to have Universe 6's team of 5 is a pretty well put together team.
Well, I guess, okay, here's what I find very interesting about this because, 16, for example, did not have ki. Okay. He didn't have ki. He wasn't a living being. He didn't have ki.
All
part
pathetic.
of what makes this character dangerous is that he's huge. He weighs a shit ton. He also seems to naturally have a lot of energy, and that
the combination.
He would have to have a lot of energy to even be able to keep up with Vegeta as a Super Saiyan. Basically, what I'm saying is we're seeing Magetta keep up with Super Saiyan Vegeta, which implies that he at least has enough energy in terms of ki to keep up with that. But that's not the only thing that he has going on. Like he is built like a weapon. Like you'll notice, like the way that Vegeta is getting hit in the head there in that second page. Vegeta is kind of overwhelmed because he was expecting to fight a human being style opponent. He wasn't.
And there's a whole planet full of these guys, Jordan.
Yeah, and he wasn't expecting to fight a giant weapon, pretty much. And it's like, it makes this particular fight more interesting because Vegeta was so cocky when he was fighting Frost, and then he has to fight this guy, and he's just completely thrown from it.
Yeah, I like Trenton, bro. Come on. What's the next big revelation, bro? Water's wet. Is that the next big shocker you're gonna hit me with? He's an automaton. That means he's a living machine. I said that word earlier. He is like the Borg from Star Trek. That's what he is. He's not an android like Jordan said with 16. He's a living machine. And that's cool. Like I said, I like that kind of shit. I love the Borg. So, but right here, Goku comments, the metal man weighs at least 1,000 tons. That's a lot of weight. Yeah. And here we have Vegeta trying to lift them up. Like he's just way, way too heavy. So Vegeta's gonna have to figure something out. So he goes for a long range attack, which doesn't really do much but damage the floor of the arena of the tournament grounds. Magetta fires back some of that lava. What a cool character, bro. Magetta would be goddamn. Like I think Magetta's he's underrated, bro.
He's very unique. Yeah.
You know how like I've talked about how like Dabura is such a cool villain that he should have been like a main villain. Like I'm not saying Magetta should have been a main villain, but if they ever do a storyline where they have to face off against like an army of these fucking things, that would be a pretty badass little conflict.
Or just having an arc where Universe 6 backs them up. And then like, you have some of the team Universe 6 members. Maybe there's something that happens in Universe 6 where the Universe 7 Saiyans need to help, and then they get to Universe 6 and he's one of the characters that shows up to help fight the bad guys. I think that'd be really cool. Like kind of make him a Z fighter,
Yeah, well, that could work as well. It's just, it's a Universe 6 thing. Again, let's go to Universe 6. Magetta, I like how Vegeta's like, wait a minute, he's not allowed to do that. He's like, no, that's his spit. He spits lava like fucking Bowser. And Vegeta's having a really hard time. Finally, he connects by putting him on his ass, but he's still. And here is a little bit of lore behind Magetta. So Whis explains metal men are a very delicate people. They're mentally so fragile that mean words can make them depressed and unable to fight. So this is very much like Janemba, how when Paikuhan is like cussing and screaming obscenities, it breaks like the power. Yeah, so this is once again, very clever Toriyama writing, very clever characterization. Toriyama, I hope that when people watch our series, what I'm hoping for with all these streams is that people walk away with it understanding the man Akira Toriyama better. Right. This is a classic Toriyama thing. He will create this invincible, indestructible, difficult enemy, and then he'll give them some kind of like a little personality quirk where we can relate to him or it can be taken advantage of. With 16, It was his obsession with nature and the birds. With Metal Men, it's the fact that they're very, very delicate and that being mean to them verbally can hurt them and have them lose concentration. That is right out of Dr. Slump.
Yep.
Dr. Slump is the only show ever where the sun's alive, mountains are alive. Every object in Dr. Slump has like a face. And you oftentimes see them cry because they're very sensitive. So This goes back to what Jordan, I said this on Twitter the other day, bro. And I think you may have retweeted it. If not, you should have. I said, I wish Dragon Ball fans read other Toriyama works so that way they can really understand the guy. Because Dragon Ball has some of that shit, but if you look at his other works, there's a lot more to his personality.
Yeah, well, it gives you context in terms of his approach, and then you can kind of see Dragon Ball in a new light,
Exactly. And you understand him that even though he's very good at drawing fights on a page, he's also a good character writer and very silly. So Vegeta wins with cussing him out, and then we have Vegeta versus Cabba, and we have Saiyan versus Saiyan.
Go ahead and look at the super chats. I'm gonna grab a bottle of water before we do this.
Well, the super chats may be something you might want to jump. Well, okay, that I'll do a couple.
I'm just gonna grab a bottle of water. They're right here on the table.
Oh, all right. I'm gonna go to Gabby first. Gabby says, I kind of feel bad for liking some of Tarantino's films, such as Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction, considering how much of a piece of shit he is IRL. Well, I know what you're talking about. I don't want to get into what you're talking about necessarily, but just know that I know. And I'm just going to say this, man. Look, we're all grown here. The reality is that there's a lot of things that a lot of different things people are into, right? That are created by people who are not that great of people. You understand what I'm saying? A good example is Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit killed his wife and child, right, in 2007. He unalived them, as they say now on YouTube. But he was a tremendous wrestler. Some people, same thing with R. Kelly. R. Kelly did a lot of heinous things, but he makes great music. Some people are able to disconnect the artist from the art. Others are not. I don't think that there is a right or wrong answer here. I think it just depends on your tolerance level. So I don't disagree with you, but you should not feel bad about liking something created by a quote unquote bad person, because lots of popular things were created by people that are bad. So that's just the way. Yeah, Falconer, even though you butchered the spelling. All right, now this one I wanted to wait till later, but fuck it. Let's talk about it now. Do y'all feel like the Super Dragon Balls have been underutilized since the Tournament of Power? I feel like Granola was a good opportunity to bring them back with Zeno. I have an answer, but do you have one?
Go ahead and give your answer, then I'll give mine.
So I think this is what happens when Dragon Ball has been on hiatus for years. The reason why it feels that way is because we haven't had a new manga chapter, like a new story in 4 years. That's why. And I'm not including Goku versus Gohan. There are some new, like the Clean God thing. Because the Granola arc happened so long ago, and then the Moro arc, and then the Tournament of Power was, 7 years ago, it feels like more time has passed in our world, but in the world of Dragon Ball Super, it's between Tournament of Power, Broly, Moro, and Granola. It's not that long of a time. So
right.
It's one of those things where with the Mangalorian now, with Mangalorian Super, since we're doing like somewhat of a binge, we're not binging every chapter one after another, but the streams are going to be volume for volume, not chapter for chapter. It's going to feel a lot faster. I mean, look, this is stream number 2, and we're already on the 3rd arc. So it's just the way things are. I think it's time displacement. What's your answer for that?
I was going to say I just don't think they're underutilized. I think they were used in the Goku Black arc and in the 2OP, and those arcs were very, very close together. And I was also going to say that in the Moro arc, they used the Namekian Dragon Balls, and in the
and the Cerulean Dragon Balls.
Yeah, and there's a purpose for the Cerulean Dragon Balls in the sense they're trying to expand on the idea that there are more Dragon Balls out there because there's probably more Namekians out there. So, there's a reason they don't use the Super Dragon Balls over and over again. I do think that Super is pretty consistent about having the Dragon Balls related in each individual arc. But I think having the Super Dragon Balls be the focus in each individual arc is repetitive and, it's not necessarily good. So I don't think they're underutilized.
I agree with you 100%. And actually, I agree with Trenton here. The guy who made me break my mic, I'm going to agree with him. I don't want them to rely on the Super Dragon Balls. I agree. I do not want Super to overuse the Super Dragon Balls. Those have to be, I think it works better if they're rarely used. So, all right. Vegeta versus Cabba. Now, the joke's been made by me and by many others that by the end of this fight, Vegeta cares more about training Cabba than he does his own son. Cabba's like a surrogate son, but I want to clear that up a little bit. I said that jokingly, but it's also true. But I think the reason as to why Vegeta, and this is something we can discuss a bit more later, or maybe even in a separate video. The reason why Vegeta is so fascinated by Cabba is because this is the first time in Vegeta's life he's running into a Saiyan from a different universe who has a different biological evolution. So Vegeta's fascinated by this. To use a Pokemon analogy, it's like the what do you call those Pokemon from other region variants? That's what Universe 6 Saiyans are. They're region variants. Vegeta's like, they don't have tails. They don't know about Super Saiyan or Grade 8. So maybe there's potential there. Maybe there's not. But Cabba certainly shows a lot of potential. The thing that blows my mind, Jordan, and I know you've seen this before. This is Dragon Ball fans in a nutshell. Yeah. Have you seen those polls where it's like who's stronger, Gohan from the Cell Saga or Cabba, and people vote for Gohan?
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit because I do want to talk about that a little bit, but that's good. That's like a whole can of worms that we'll get into towards the end of this whole fight. But
embarrassing.
I do want to acknowledge where I think Vegeta is coming from in terms of his fascination for Cabba, because you have to remember that the reason that Vegeta gave up on the Universe 7 Saiyans is because they didn't meet his standards and they were killed by Frieza.
Right. Okay? That's why he's never going to wish them back, because he doesn't care about them.
So the fact that planet Sadala in this universe still exists, and not only does it still exist, but Cabba and the Universe 6 Saiyans are a dominant force in Universe 6. I think that's a big part of why Vegeta is fascinated, because it basically, it's like there's a chance here that they don't have the same sort of weakness as the Universe 7 Saiyans. And I think that's why Vegeta is kind of trying to fill out Cabba here, because he wants to see if Cabba and the Universe 6 Saiyans sort of fit his standards, you know?
Yes. And it's, but think about it. Like, it's interesting that Vegeta says, okay, well, the Saiyans from my universe are gone. Fuck them. And then he finds out, wait a minute, there's Sadala still exists in theirs. And there's that curiosity, because Vegeta knows that among all the Saiyans, none of them, as you said, none of them are on his level. But in Universe 6, there may be potential there. And that's where
let's read what he says to Cabba here in this conversation.
Okay, so he says, I knew it. You're quite the experienced fighter as expected of a Saiyan warrior. In your normal state, I would say you're about as strong as myself. That's a big fucking deal. Because this is Vegeta post years of training, post God training. He says normal state.
Now, this is something that gets, this is the reason that this is something that gets misunderstood at a ridiculous level on the fandom. This right here is the reason that people make those memes of Cabba one-shotting Gogeta Super Saiyan 4. Like, him saying that he's as strong as Vegeta in base is the reason that meme exists. But there's something I want people to understand, okay? There's something I want people to understand about the statement that they're not thinking about, that they don't take into account. And I want to make this very, very clear. Vegeta is saying this without using the technique that Whis taught him to be able to fully tap into the battle power of Super Saiyan God and turn into Super Saiyan Blue. Okay? The problem with people saying that Cabba is just as strong as Super Saiyan God is that at the end of this fight, and you'll see it, and at the end of the fight in the anime, Vegeta's like, you just need to learn to use your energy better.
Yeah.
So
which everybody can learn that.
Which essentially, so here's what's being implied. I just want people to understand this. Cabba has enough energy that maybe he could become a Super Saiyan God or a Super Saiyan Blue. But unless he learns to use that energy at the same level as Goku and Vegeta, he is not as strong as a Super Saiyan God in base. If anything, he's probably as strong as like maybe Goku whenever he absorbed the God power and he was fighting Beerus and he was
Battle of Gods.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah. In Battle of Gods, whenever Goku was like, he was really strong, but he didn't have the energy control to really tap into the depths of his power and use it correctly. That is what Cabba is missing here. Okay, Cabba has a lot of latent energy because the Universe 6 Saiyans have evolved so much. And they're sort of like the equivalent of Goten and Trunks, but like if Saiyans themselves just evolved into something the equivalent of that. And he does have a lot of latent power, but he does not have the energy control to use that to the point that Vegeta can. So basically what's being said here, just to make it clear, Cabba is just as strong as Vegeta, but he doesn't have the energy control that Vegeta does. And that's the reason that Vegeta has the upper hand here, because Vegeta's not in this fight yet using the energy control technique he learned from Whis, and we get confirmation of that here in just a second whenever Vegeta uses Super Saiyan. Because remember what I told you guys in the last episode. If you see Vegeta and Goku using Super Saiyan, you know they aren't using the technique that Whis taught them to tap into their God power. If you see them using the regular Super Saiyan technique, they are not using that technique that allows them to use the battle power of Super Saiyan God, because Super Saiyan Blue is Super Saiyan with the battle power of Super Saiyan God. So I just wanted to make that clear, because people really do like take this statement and run with it and overpower Cabba. And I'm not saying that Cabba is not strong.
He's very strong.
There's more context to this than, than Cabba just being Super Saiyan God level. There's way more to this than that. So
I love you, and I'm going to tell you why. So you just baked a nice cake. Very good cake. I'm just going to add a little frosting to what you said. Not this kind of frosting, though. I don't disagree with anything you said, right? Now, notice how Vegeta tells him, become a Super Saiyan. He's like, I don't even know what the hell that is. I didn't even know you could do that. The reason as to why the Universe 6 Saiyans have never even heard of Universe 6 of Super Saiyan is because they live in a mostly peaceful society. Granted, every character has emotions. I'm sure they've gotten angry and things like that, but not angry to the point where they can tap into that kind of power, right? And it's one of those things where it makes sense. I said when I first saw this arc that it was silly that nobody had ever tapped into Super Saiyan prior to this. But thinking back on it, like, they've probably had frustrating moments, but for the most part, they're peaceful, right? However, there's something I want people to think when it comes to this Vegeta versus Cabba thing, and it harkens all the way back to the original Dragon Ball manga and Dragon Ball Z. Vegeta is to Cabba what Goku was to Gohan in the Room of Spirit and Time. Cabba and Gohan are exactly the same. Tremendous potential, secret unlocked power, has no idea how to use it. Goku and Vegeta, being the expert martial artists, are going to teach them how to use it. That's going to create like a father-son bond. That's why, like, people that have made jokes about Vegeta being Cabba's like stepdad, there is something to that. And what I love about this, and this goes, again, back to the original Dragon Ball manga, one of the reasons to why Vegeta and Trunks, well, really Trunks, failed against Cell is because if you remember what was said, Trunks states that when him and Vegeta went into the Room of Spirit and Time, Vegeta went off to do his own thing, Trunks went off to do his own thing. Trunks could sense that Vegeta tapped into grade 2 and went a step further, but couldn't read Vegeta's mind to know that grade 3 would have the strength limitation.
Right.
The stamina limitation. Right. Vegeta remembers that. And so this time, instead of it being like it was in Room of Spirit and Time, this time Vegeta's going to teach this kid the right way. And if you notice, this scene mirrors the one where Gohan first goes Super Saiyan against Goku. It's literally a tie-in all the way back to that. And I love it. You know, Jordan, I didn't pick up on this the first time. This is not something that I don't have genius level intellect. I mean, I do, but I didn't pick up on it the first time. This is like when I was reviewing this, I was like, oh yeah, I see what they did there.
Yeah. I do think it's hilarious that Cabba, because the thing is Vegeta is proud of Cabba at first, and then as soon as Cabba like asks him for help to teach him Super Saiyan, he's like, "Oh hell no, you guys aren't what I was thinking." Because here's the thing, and this is the reason that I think that Cabba has not gotten Super Saiyan yet, or the Universe 6 Saiyans. This is my take on it. Okay, I think the reason that they don't have it is because they are a dominant force in the universe. Okay.
Yeah, they kind of have it easy compared to
they have it easy. That's right. Like, they haven't really been pushed. I mean, they work for Frost. Frost is basically like the universal dictator, right? They run around the thing is like what Vegeta and Goku do for Earth in terms of protecting Earth. The Universe 6 Saiyans do that for all the planets in Universe 6. And they have like an elite force of protectors who go to planets and take people down. And Cabba is in the anime particularly is stated to be the ace of the Sadala Defense Force, meaning that anytime things get hairy, Cabba is the guy that they call in to take care. Basically, he's like Captain America. Right?
Yeah, but he's a professional. He doesn't get angry. And that's the key. He's trained, but he does not get angry.
Right. Whenever they need help and there's a problem they can't solve, Cabba is the guy that they call in. And that's very, very important because that establishes that Cabba is sort of like a measuring stick for the amount of danger that the Universe 6 Sadala Saiyans have had to deal with. And Cabba clearly has never had to deal with something like this with Vegeta. Okay? Like, if Cabba's the guy they call in to clean up the mess, then that means that he's never been pushed to this level. Otherwise, he'd be able to take Vegeta down with ease. So
and that's because Universe 6 is peacetime.
Right. They've essentially dominated the universe. They are dominant life forms, is what's so interesting about it. Because yes, they are more peaceful and stuff of that nature, but it's only a side effect of the fact that they're dominant life forms that they are peaceful. Because it's really interesting because The reason that the Saiyans in Universe 7 were so evil and destructive and stuff is because they were not dominant life forms. They were actually like constantly struggling and on the verge of extinction. Whereas the Universe 6 Saiyans are thriving. They still have their original planet. They're protecting multiple planets, making money off protecting planets, which is another cool thing that a lot of people don't think about, is the whole like parallel between Universe 7 selling planets and Universe 6 protecting planets, but they both make money off of it, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a really interesting thing there if you think about it in terms of like why they probably haven't had Super Saiyan. It's just that they're that dominant in the universe. That's basically how I think of it. You know.
No, and that's all fair. And what I like about these couple of pages here is we're supposed to believe that Vegeta's like back to his old self again, but clearly, it's all being done to antagonize Cabba. He's doing it on purpose to piss Cabba off because he knows that if he does it, Cabba will lose it. And here, I mean, he's just talking shit to him. You know, I'm going to kill you. There's no place in the universe.
Important line. This is a very important.
Which one?
Line. There's no place in this universe for a prideless Saiyan. Now, I want you to look at this particular these particular set of panels are a callback to whenever Vegeta killed Nappa in Dragon Ball Z. Okay, the way
exactly the same as Vegeta's face is with the exactly the same.
It's literally exactly the same thing, and the reason that's important is because it's further establishing what me and Danny talked about when we covered that chapter. Is that the reason that Vegeta killed Nappa is because he considered him a prideless Saiyan,
and he was worthless at that point.
Right. If you don't have this degree of pride that Vegeta thinks that you should have, even in the modern era, you aren't going to be up to par in terms of where he thinks you should be. Now, this is a multi-layered part of Vegeta's character. It's a part of his nature.
We talked about that in the Vegeta special we did, you, me, and Derek.
But here it's particularly interesting. And you remember in that video with Derek, I talked about how Vegeta encourages people to have strength in their ideas. And that's essentially what Vegeta is doing here with Cabba, is he's essentially saying, if you don't have pride in your species, if you don't have pride in your ideas as a species, then you're useless. Like you're not what I would consider a true Saiyan to be. And what's really interesting about this is essentially Vegeta kind of doing something akin to what he did against Granola later on in Super, and also something akin to what Beerus does with Vegeta. Okay. And this is part of the reason I love the Beerus Vegeta dynamic, because Beerus is constantly giving Vegeta a taste of his own medicine in this way by pushing Vegeta's ideology to its limit and you know, forcing Vegeta to embrace it, and eventually, you know, reaching Ultra Ego as a result of that. But this is, in a sense, Vegeta doing the job of a god of destruction. And this is something that a lot of people miss, is that not only is he trying to instill Saiyan pride into Cabba, but he's actually participating in the same type of moral development that the gods of destruction implement.
That's their job.
Yeah, when they run into mortals, and Beerus does this multiple times. When he runs into somebody that he wants to develop, what he'll do is he'll challenge their ego. He'll challenge their ideology, and he'll challenge how dedicated they are to that ideology, and he'll push that to its limit. And that's what Vegeta does here with Cabba. He basically says, listen, if you really care about Planet Sadala so much, and you really are this dedicated to your cause, protecting planets, then you better get your shit together, because if you don't defeat me, I'm going to go to Universe 6 and I'm going to destroy the Universe 6.
I'm going to kill all your loved ones.
Because the thing is, and this speaks again to why Vegeta has never wished back the Saiyans. They do not have this sense of pride that he believes that they should have in order to even be able to exist. And this sort of feeds into Vegeta's nature as a god of destruction, because if Vegeta was a god of destruction, what he would do is he would run from planet to planet, testing to see if these planets have a semblance of this pride that he's talking about. and he would push that pride onto everyone around him, and he would develop them that way. And what I find very interesting about that is it's sort of what Vegeta has done to Goku in Dragon Ball Z. Like, it's basically taking the benefit that Vegeta had for Goku's character, and it's spreading it throughout the entire universe. Basically, the same sort of effect that Vegeta initially had on Goku that allowed Goku to improve and get stronger and develop as a character. He's taking that same sort of treatment that he gave Goku, and he's using it to develop other characters and make other characters stronger and encourage their sense of pride as well. And I think that's really interesting and cool. So I just want to talk about that because I think that's kind of the main focus here. Is that I think that the story is trying to communicate to us what Vegeta's priorities are, why he's behaving this way, and why he's something akin to a god of destruction, similar to Beerus and a number of other characters.
And just once again, to reiterate another point, he's not really going to go to Planet Sadala and wipe them out. He's just saying that to piss off Cabba. This might mirror Vegeta and Nappa, but that Vegeta is no longer Vegeta. That Vegeta died ages ago. Literally, in some ways, when he sacrificed himself against Majin Buu, that was the atonement when Vegeta finally crossed over, right? That's really where his arc sort of almost was entirely complete. He's not really going to do that. He's literally saying anything he can say to piss off Cabba because he wants to see if these guys can get even stronger. And
look, that right there, I like how that panel right there is verbatim the same angle that he killed Nappa in NC. It's literally like the same panel.
It's the same, almost the same move. Yeah. And that's what helps fucking Cabba snap. Look, Planet Sadala has nothing to do with this. Why are you bringing my family into this? And then, bam, he taps into it. So
Planet Sadala is sort of Cabba's Krillin, just to make you guys understand. The reason that threatening
exactly.
The reason
that's
that
those are his friends and his family.
Right. The reason that threatening Planet Sadala is what triggered Cabba is because you have to have a pure you have to have a pure heart, but you have to have a pure dedication to to protecting someone, caring about someone, something like that. It has to be something that can cause a ridiculously large emotional shock and not just a minor one, right? So
yes, that's what I was saying is that they can get angry, but to tap into that level of rage is a bit more difficult. And I like that. And I like how what Vegeta says here. He says, and by the way, Vegeta's strategy worked. He says the key to a Saiyan's powers is rage. Never forget that feeling. So the tingly back that all these fucking amateurs criticize, the tingly back doesn't work without the rage. You have to have the rage to tap into it. Now, later on, after you've already tapped into it, different story. But there has to be an emotion there.
Well, look, Super Saiyan is powered by rage. Like,
right. I already went over the tingly back years ago with a martial artist, and the tingly back does make sense if you understand chakras and martial arts. But the problem is Western Dragon Ball fans don't even know anything about this. So they're just like, oh, the tingly back, that's stupid. I thought you have to get mad. Yeah, but you do. They're linked. They're linked.
Yeah. What's happening is just to give you guys a little bit of an understanding. I'm not going to talk about the chakra things like Geekdom covered on his video.
I did the whole video with Kendamu
years ago. That, but I am going to tell you this. So the chakra thing basically just kind of covers like how chi travels throughout your body. But the reason that anger is the source of a Saiyan's power is because anger is what causes adrenaline, and adrenaline is
fight or flight.
Adrenaline is what causes ki. Okay. Ki is vital energy. It's the energy that powers our body and makes us stronger and stuff like that. And when you're in an ecstatic state, when you're in when an emotional shock causes you to be, adrenaline to activate, you have more ki. That's the idea. When somebody does a ki-eye in martial arts, what they're doing is they're taking advantage of their adrenaline and
and it comes from down here, bro. It comes from down here.
Right. So it's the idea that anger is the source of their power isn't drawn from nothing. It's drawn from real life, inspiration in terms of martial arts and stuff like that. Like anger and ki are connected to each other, right?
Right.
So if Cabba is in Super Saiyan or Caulifla or anyone, they're in an enraged state because they're taking essentially Super Saiyan is fight or flight mode. A lot of people don't want to come to terms with that. Like they get
It's
tired
very
of me.
real.
They get tired of me like hearing the term fight or flight for me, but that's what it is. They're in a survival mode. I mean, they're basically like in an ecstatic, emotionally volatile, emotionally sensitive state. That's what Super Saiyan is. It's like, if you corner an animal and then that animal has an adrenaline spike, that's essentially kind of what's happening here.
Including humans. We have that.
Right. Except this is like it's framed in a more spiritual sense rather than a more scientific sense because they're actually getting a key aura, their hair is changing color, all those types of things. But this is all in reference to like being in a fight or flight like state. Now, what's interesting about that is that again, with that context in mind, you can sort of deduct that Cabba has never been in a fight or flight type situation.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, dude. That it's peaceful over there. He can fight, but that's professional, not rage.
Also, the tingly back thing is literally the same technique that all the Saiyans use after the initial trigger. People think that Cabba like invented it or whatever. No, he just described it to Caulifla.
Dragon Ball didn't even invent it, bro.
Yeah. Dragon Ball didn't even invent it. When Goku and Vegeta transform into Super Saiyan, they're not triggered every time. They're like there's not a thing that needs to happen every time to trigger them to become Super Saiyan.
Right here, it's literally he tells them try to become a Super Saiyan again. Once you break the limit the first time, just like Gohan, it's easier each and every time after that.
Right.
That's what it is.
All Cabba is communicating to Caulifla is the same tech. It's the technique behind becoming Super Saiyan, and it's the same technique that Goku uses, Vegeta uses, they all use throughout the entire series after the initial trigger. So,
yes,
as long as you understand that, the tingly back thing shouldn't be that big of a problem.
The one thing that irritated me, and of course, this is typical, is after doing that tingly back video, showing evidence, having a martial artist on, there were still people in the comments who, no, you're just caping for the story. And it's like, why do some Americans, why are they happy being dumb? Like, it's just weird to me, bro. Like, why are you happy being ignorant? I can't be like that, bro. I'm the kind of guy who I'm a curious guy. I want to learn more about the world. But these motherfuckers, no, bro, it's a cop out. You're just making that up. Okay. Motherfuckers never thrown a punch in his whole fucking life and tell me about martial arts, bro. Get fucked. Anyways, I love that.
They commented on Cabba's outfit. I do like Cabba's outfit, and it kind of reminds me of like a gladiator outfit. Like a Roman era, like gladiator outfit. Yeah.
So Cabba's like, hey, now that I'm a Super Saiyan, let's fight. And they scrap for a little bit. And then Vegeta's like, you know what? Let me show you something else. Ba-bam! Oh, blue hair. This is the newest Super Saiyan form. I like how he says this is the newest form that they're selling, and they're selling the newest SH Figuarts toy. This is the newest form in Dragon Ball. It's called Super Saiyan Blue. Keep on training, and even you can become this strong.
Yeah, so that
and then he elbows him and he raccoons his ass, bro.
That is what I was talking about earlier. What Vegeta is telling him, people think that Vegeta is telling Cabba to just like muscle, like, work out, but that's not what he's saying. He's saying, when he says train, he's saying, if you train to be able to use your energy, because that's what you need to be able to use Super Saiyan Blue, you can attain this power. So essentially, fans aren't necessarily completely wrong when they say that Cabba is as strong as he is. It's just Cabba cannot completely tap into the depths of his power without the key control technique that Goku and Vegeta have.
And Vegeta teaches him how to do it. And therefore, that's why Cabba and Vegeta have that relationship. Cabba has a tremendous amount of respect for Vegeta. That's unquestionable. Like, he is like a father figure, because Vegeta showed Cabba a whole new world of power that he never even knew existed. So I love here how Piccolo accepts, he's teaching him a lesson. And I guess he was once a prince, so I guess he was nostalgic seeing one of his own people again. And then Goku's like, I'm still here. Yeah, but you're always with this guy. Do you seriously think he likes you? I never disliked him, you know. Well, that's not true. He did dislike him at first, but
Yeah.
But I do think that's funny just because they're always together, so they already know each other relatively well. And Vegeta's like, don't forget about your pride. And he's like, got it. And I like that. I like that Universe 6 learns from Universe 7, and Universe 7 learns from Universe 6, just like how in Dragon Ball, Frieza learns from Goku and vice versa. Even your enemies, you can learn from them. So we got one guy left, and that's Hito. Hit versus Vegeta. Now, Hit, first of all, the top of his head kind of looks like a penis, but that's neither here nor there. I always thought that Hit with that cool trench coat look, I like Hit, bro. I actually miss him. I wish he got his own series. He's a secret assassin. Right here, we don't know much about him, but Vegeta goes Super Saiyan Blue right away. Hit just clocks him. He has no idea what the hell's going on, but Vegeta's feeling pain. Meanwhile, nobody can see Hit's movements. And this is God level Goku and Vegeta. Hit is just embarrassing Vegeta here in Super Saiyan Blue. And Jocko, even Jocko with his good eyesight, was like, yeah, he's too fast. He's vanishing in the middle of his movements. He absolutely disappears. This is Hit's time skip ability. I did a whole technique guide. In fact, it wasn't even a technique guide when I did it, but I like retconned it into being a technique guide all the way back when this first was coming out, because the time skip is among the most broken and OP things we've ever seen in Dragon Ball.
Right.
I mean, look what he does to Vegeta.
Yeah, it is very, very OP. I like that they're coming back. They're doing the assassin versus the martial artist trope again from OG Dragon Ball.
Tao and Goku.
Well, they did it with
Tao and Ten Shinhan.
Yeah, Ten Shinhan. Yeah,
who wanted to be an assassin.
Yeah, I like that they're doing that trope again. To me, Hit has always kind of been like you compared him to Jiren earlier, and I do think he's compared to Jiren, but he reminds me a lot of Ten Shinhan too. In terms of being like a reserved, serious assassin / martial arts figure.
He's over 1,000 years old, bro.
And Goku meets him in a tournament. He changes him in the tournament. It's very, very similar to Ten Shinhan in that way as well. But his abilities are definitely way more unique, though. Like I like that his abilities are time themed. Because in terms of like being an assassin, having time powers would be like the most.
Are you kidding me? You can get away with anything.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. So the Galactic King is the one that realizes what's going on. He pointed out there are some people in the universe who can skip time just for a tiny bit, though they only shift about 0.1 seconds. To put it simply, they can stop all time except their own.
And that means that there's somebody in Universe 7 that can do that.
Possibly, because it's not a one-to-one. But the thing that we don't know, right, is, and this is an unanswered question, we don't know if Hit's race knows how to do that or if Hit himself is a special member of his race. Make no mistake, and Toriyama straight up said this, Frieza and King Cold do not represent their race. They are mutants that are specially stronger than the rest of their race. So Hit could be one of those guys where maybe his race of like purple dickheads, I don't know, Purple dickheadjin, maybe they are not that strong, but Hit, because of his 1,000 years of being an assassin, developed that. Or maybe he learned it from somebody at Universe 6. There's a lot of unanswered questions when it comes to Hit's backstory, bro.
Yeah, that's true.
So Vegeta's out. Here comes Goku. Do you have any advice? Say good luck. And Goku could be in trouble, but they obviously have Monaka as the backup, even though Monaka is well, we know. Let me get these last couple super chats here. Kiryu left this a while ago when we were talking about the power scaling discussion with Cabba. I've been saying this for years. It's why I hate power scalers. They're all idiots. But I disagree. They're not all idiots. There are bad ones and there's good ones, just like everybody else.
Yep. There's decent power scale.
Yeah, there's good ones too. Hembry Jeremiah 645. I can see why One Piece and Dragon Ball became the biggest manga ever in history. They're so awesome. I can't really comment on One Piece. I haven't read it yet, but it's popular. So, and also it's also Journey to the West inspired, is it not?
Yeah, it is.
But let's keep it real, bro. If it wasn't for Akira Toriyama, Oda would be selling ramen at a shop right now, making minimum wage in fucking Osaka.
Probably, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Let's keep it a buck now. I'm not saying he's a bad writer, but Toriyama put food on the plate for everybody to eat.
Yep.
So Piccolo straight up says this is the final of the tournament, right? Here comes Goku. And this is something now that's manga exclusive. Hit basically talks to Goku about transforming. Why aren't you transforming? Hold on. A show about a Universe 6 assassin would be a hit. That's a very good pun. Very, very good pun. Yeah, I wanted him to do like a Mandalorian type show with Hit assassinating people. That would be a beautiful show. He gets involved in some conspiracy. That'd be great. It will never happen, but I wish it did. I wish I could talk to Akio.
Well, a lot of characters that Toriyama. This is why Toriyama was so good at one shots, because he can create a character that you just want to follow, and Hit is definitely one of those characters. There's a lot of characters like that in Super. So,
bro, Tomato Girl Detective and Kenosuke could have been their own long manga with how good those characters are. They're short. Maybe not Lady Red though.
I like how Goku says, "I'm not naive. I'm actually quite old." I like how he says that.
Yeah, and then Goku's like, he's like, "Oh, you're way older than me." But yeah, this whole thing is Goku saying, "I'm not going to use transformations." Of course, not yet. Of course, Hit is really, really powerful, and as of right now, the time skip has no counter. Okay. Goku tries to fight him in his base form, or maybe he's using Saiyan Beyond God. I think it's mostly base, and Hit's just owning him. Here, he almost connects. So Goku's getting faster. He even said he made a little contact there. So Goku is doing the thing. What's happening here is Goku's predicting Hit's movements. The more that he fights Hit, the more he can predict Hit's movements. So even if Hit is faster and can skip time, Goku knows what his next move is going to be. So the longer Goku's in the game, the more his brain can study the fight, which is why Goku is a genius fighter. You can skip time 0.1 second into the future, right? So right from when you vanish, I try to predict where you'd move. And that's literally how you defeat Hit. It's just not easy. Nobody said it was easy. We're talking about reflexes here. Your hands stay in your pockets and you hide under your feet.
You hide your feet under your coat.
Your feet under your coat so you can mask your movements. That's pretty genius, bro.
Yep.
So Goku goes classic Super Saiyan. The fun begins now. And Hit's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, and then he's starting to enjoy the fight too.
He pulled his hands out of his pockets.
That's like a big deal. He went from being like, I'm bored as hell, this sucks, to like, this is actually starting to kind of be fun.
Yeah, right. No argument there. So Vegeta, now I'm sorry. None of this is in the anime. Goku does not use Super Saiyan against Hit in the anime. He does use it here though. He's trying to fight Hits. Right now, the speed difference is starting to, like, the gap is shortening, but Goku is still struggling. And Hit is enjoying himself, as you said. However, if you can predict my moves after I vanish, then I'll just have to travel even further into the future, which is even scarier. And then he's like, I'll have to predict it even faster. So sorry about that. I didn't mean to do that. Now Goku,
the more he learns how Hit fights,
right? It's all about adaptation.
Yeah, the more his time skip becomes less useful, because Goku is using his battle IQ to predict what Hit will do way prior to. Basically, he's kind of like factoring in the time skip into his moves as a technique, so he can. It's the same thing as, like, for example, if somebody goes to throw a punch at you and they fake, right? You have to have the reaction time and the battle IQ to understand when they're going to fake, when they're going to pull back. And if you can do that, then you can time it in a way to where when they do actually throw a punch and they don't fake their punch, you'll block it. That's essentially what's happening here. He's factoring in his time skip in terms of like how much time it's going to take and how that affects when hit is going to attack. And he's doing that to the point that he can predict when hit is going to attack. And so it kind of makes his time skip useless in some sense.
In some sense. But I do like what Vados says here. Vados explains that Goku's getting tired, though. Hit's not expelling that much energy to use the time skip technique, but Goku is definitely getting more tired from this defensive method that he's doing. And so Goku is now deciding, okay, I'm going to power up a little bit more. So now he goes into Super Saiyan God. Now, none of this is whatsoever in the anime version. The anime version has that Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken scene that everybody loves, and I like it too. However, when it comes to strategy and the series going back to its roots, Jordan, I feel like this is a bit better when it comes to strategy, like classic Dragon Ball fights.
Yeah. In terms of implementing the manga medium, it wouldn't complement it very well to just do like Goku did in the anime and just try to power through time skip. Having Goku use his battle IQ is much better for the manga. For sure.
And Goku says you're still trying to save energy for the blue form even at a time like this. Well, the reason why I think that's important is because that's illustrating to the audience that even though God power is incredible, it is finite. They can run out of ki. They can get tired. And then look, oh, that's Super Saiyan Red. No, it's called Super Saiyan God, even though I do like Super Saiyan Red also. Goku tries to attack. This time Hit uses like lightning effects here to distract Goku, but Hit's able to connect. And then Goku manages to actually land a left jab right to Hit's mouth. Hit is actually gets hurt right in the nose. Not mouth, nose. He hit him right in the nose. Now, in case you don't know,
Yeah, he about broke his nose.
I was just going to say that. If you hit somebody like that in the nose, you can break their nose easily, bro. And he's like, oh, wait a minute. He's getting better. So the God key and the God form is increasing his speed.
So somebody said that Goku got really skinny in Super Saiyan God. You guys want to hear something really interesting?
That's kind of part of the gimmick, yeah.
Yeah. So in Chinese mythology, ki is the secret to immortality and eternal youth. Okay. It's also the secret to becoming a god. The Taoist deities, the Taoist gods, the reason they were gods is because they had ki and they had enough ki to keep them alive forever, and that they were essentially immortal due to ki. So Toriyama making Goku younger looking when he becomes a deity is likely him taking inspiration from that idea in Chinese mythology, where ki makes you younger looking. It can make you immortal within the context of Chinese mythology. So that's probably where the inspiration came from in terms of like Goku's aesthetic and Super Saiyan God. So
not just that, again, to add icing to the cake, Toriyama loves to do subversion of expectations, which is why Frieza's final form is like a little alien form, why Kid Buu is the final Buu. He makes you think that, well, if it's Super Saiyan God, he's going to have to be really, really buff. Like, the Greek, like a lot of the Greek gods, like Zeus, you see them, he's all buff with a beard and lightning. So you're thinking, okay, like, and instead Toriyama makes him skinnier. And I know some fans don't like that, but it's one of those things where, again, man, the more you learn about Akira Toriyama, the more things start to make sense. Like his decisions, people like me and Jordan and even Derek, even more so than Mr. Fusion, because it doesn't mean we agree with everything Toriyama's done, but at least we understand, okay, this is a very Toriyama thing he's doing. Like, it's not crazy,
Right.
So yeah. And then here we says Goku's powers become far superior to that of Hit. That's what's happening here. Hit's skills are only effective against opponents who are near or below his level. Yeah, so Goku in God form is already outmatching Hit. That was, again, not in the anime. I know people love Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. I do too. Again, I like that scene too. This, to me, I think works better strategically, although I think it does make Hit look a little bit weaker. Do you agree with that? Not a lot, just a little bit.
It makes him look weaker within this section of the story. Hit doesn't adapt until this point in the story. So he is, I guess he does look weaker, but it's just because it takes him a little bit longer to start using the adaptation technique. In the anime, he doesn't. I think Goku's already using Super Saiyan Blue by the time he starts trying to adapt to him. So
yeah, right. In the anime, it's almost like Hit is equal to Blue, like what Frieza was, or maybe a little bit below it. Whereas here, God is giving him a hard time. But you have to also remember something very important. Goku has been training, and so has Vegeta. Like, they're going to be stronger here than they trained for 3 years in the room.
Yeah, and this Super Saiyan
they're way stronger than they were in Resurrection F.
This Super Saiyan God is definitely way stronger than Battle of God Super Saiyan God as well. That's
significantly. Right here, it even says, so you're saying Goku's God form surpasses that of Vegeta's blue form earlier? So what we says it's possible, but it looks like Goku in God has surpassed Vegeta in blue, and that's gonna piss off Vegeta fans. But don't worry, Vegeta catches up as he always does. So now Hit powers up because he's hiding his true power. And now Goku's like, well,
he actually reveals that he's never tried to power up before.
Is like Frieza never training.
Yeah.
Once again, Goku's teaching people.
Yeah, he's never this is him basically copying Goku and just like being like, wow, you can get stronger by doing that. And he basically, I think it's awesome because it's essentially Hit implementing his adrenaline for the first time, which is really, really cool. But yeah,
I agree with you. And again, it's that character development that even the antagonists get they get an arc. Goku and God, Hit powering up. Now Goku comes in, almost connects with him, and then immediately goes to blue right before the connection. And Goku realizes, okay, I connected. I got to do something about this. And he's like, I got to give him everything I got. So he goes for a big Kamehameha. I really like the art here. I really do think Toyotaro did a great job.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to say earlier is I like how every once in a while he'll implement the Dragon Balls in the background. I think that's cool.
Yeah, the planets. And I like the fact that this Kamehameha was so strong, it broke a hole, much like what happened in Daima when he ripped the hole through the demon realms.
Yeah.
It broke a hole through the arena roof, which is something that was designed by Vados and Whis. Now, I want to make this clear because power scalers also think that this means that Goku is strong enough to break like the angels. Mm-hmm. And that's the most ridiculous thing ever. That's not what this means. Just because the material was made by Vados does not mean that Vados is not stronger.
Yeah, it's not related to their ki. It's related to the actual material itself.
Right. By that logic, if I built a house out of like popsicle sticks and you break it, it means that you can break me the same way. No, that doesn't work that way, folks. Like, this goes back to what Kiryu was saying about power scalers. No, I don't think they're all dumb, but there are a lot of dumb ones that say dumb shit like that to try and justify their arguments. Not all of them, but there are a lot of dumb ones. I will agree there. So Vados fixes it in no time. And then Hit is like, again, impressed. Typical fucking, I've never met someone like you before. You know, everyone falls in love with Goku, bro. Now, here, Goku actually jumps out.
This is the most Ten Shinhan coded reference of all time. So a lot of people don't catch on to this, but Goku is literally verbatim doing the exact same thing that Roshi did to Ten Shinhan back in the original run of the Budokai Tenkaichi in the original Dragon Ball. If you remember, there's a scene in the original Dragon Ball where Roshi and Ten Shinhan are fighting, and by Roshi giving up and jumping out of the ring, exactly like Goku does here, literally verbatim the exact same thing, it instills a sense of martial artist pride into Ten Shinhan. And that's essentially what Goku is doing here. He's essentially giving Hit an example of what his actual priorities are, because that's going to encourage Hit. It's going to encourage Hit to have the same priorities, meaning because Goku's priorities are self-improvement and not just winning the tournament. He wants to get stronger. He actually wants to face Hit at his strongest and actually improve and get stronger as a martial artist. Hit notices that, and as a result of that, that attitude rubs off onto Hit. This scene is more than just Goku giving up. This is like Goku doing something akin to what Roshi did with Ten Shinhan that's going to have a very similar effect and impact that Roshi had on Ten Shinhan from the Budokai Tenkaichi back in the day. So
Tenkaichi Budokai. Come on, bro.
Yeah.
You know better. So
Yeah,
I want to get into what
Mouthful.
Goku says. I've been talking to Kendamu because Kendamu, the person who did the Tingly Back video, and I was talking to them, over here while you were talking. I was still paying attention, but I was letting you know, once again, they go into the Tingly Back again in my conversation with them, where it's like, no, like anger from an otherwise chill person. What that was a quote. What we were talking about with Cabba is that Cabba's always been chill and professional. Vegeta got the anger out of him. That's where the tingly back comes from. It's not just, hey, think about your back and you transform. You have to get angry. So this is interesting. So Goku tells Hit, aren't some of these some killing techniques that you couldn't use because of the rules? And Hit's like, yeah. He says, what if there were? That means you are much stronger than I've seen so far. Let's fight again sometime. So
I love how he goofily backs up. Like he puts his hands on his hips, and he just goofily backs up and jumps out. It's so funny.
We already did in 2017. So yes, now I want to comment on this real quick. And I want people to I'm gonna get on the camera here. Okay, pay attention. Goku did not give up, Goku did not step out of bounds because he thought he couldn't win. Goku did not step out of bounds because he thought that Hit was too much for him. Goku stepped out of bounds because he realized that the limitations of the rules have prevented Hit from going all out, and he's bored, and he doesn't want to keep fighting Hit if he's not going to go all out. That's right. Literally what's happening here. So I don't want to hear some shit like, oh, Goku is, he couldn't beat him and this and
that. He probably could have beat him, actually.
Maybe he could, maybe he couldn't. We don't know because Hit didn't use all of his killing techniques.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is he probably could have beat him without Hit using the killing techniques, and that's the reason that Goku was getting bored, is because he's like, well, I'm not really fighting you. I'm fighting you handicapped.
Right. And unlike the Tournament of Power, this is not a tournament where if Goku loses, the universes are destroyed. This is basically we take your Earth into our shit, which isn't that big of a consequence compared to the Tournament of Power. So Goku's like, whatever. I don't think this is out of character at all. I think that's exactly what Goku would probably do at this.
What he's doing.
Yeah, at this state. Except Roshi stepped out because he realized that Ten Shinhan and Goku were the future, but this is a little bit different. So
it is a little bit different,
yeah. And so now we have Monaka, who obviously we know that it's the secret behind Monaka is that he's not strong. Now he punches Hit, they're freaking out, and then Hit takes a pro wrestling like bump out of the cage or out of the arena, and Monaka's the winner. And then, bam, we have the first appearance of Zeno, the god of everything, the Omni King. Jordan, what were your initial thoughts the first time that this character appeared?
I was fascinated. I wasn't necessarily shocked. I guess I was kind of shocked, but not really.
It was interesting.
I was like, oh, who's this? And I was fascinated, but more than anything else, as soon as they said it was the king of all, because that was one of the first things they said whenever he was introduced in the anime. I kind of understood what he was before they expanded on him, because just by looking at him, you can see that he's like a very Toriyama-esque character, you know. So I was very fascinated with him, but I already kind of understood what Toriyama was doing with him just by them saying that he was the king of all and seeing his demeanor and how he behaved and stuff like that. So I was fascinated with him, but I will admit when I first saw him, I basically kind of thought that he was going to be like all surface level. Like he was just going to be like, Beerus's like boss per se.
Like a Yoda type of thing, right? Like Yoda and the Jedi Council.
Yeah. I thought he was going to be very, very surface level. I thought he was just going to be like the guy that like keeps Beerus and everybody in check. But he ended up being a much more multifaceted character than I was expecting when I actually saw him.
What I appreciated about him later, especially in Tournament of Power, is that Zeno's basically just a little kid. He's basically Graham, a little kid stuck in a 1,000-year-old person's body, even though Graham is not 1,000. Graham is in his 30s and has the mind of a 7-year-old. No offense, Graham, you know it's true. So that's what Zeno is. But Zeno also acts as like the audience, because during Tournament of Power, anytime somebody did something cool, he would be like, wow, that was awesome. Son Goku. Yeah. Like, he's so entertained by this tournament. He's like taking a little kid to wrestling, bro. That's basically what it is. You're taking your kid to wrestling. And that's why I think he's an enjoyable character. He's a little kid who is in control of the multiverse. I remember one of the greatest things about Zeno is that the man who translated Zen, first of all, the name Zeno is basically Zen is everything and O is like king or lord, like Piccolo Daima O or Enma Dio or Koldo Dio. Anytime you see the O at the end, it usually means like some kind of a royalty type of position. But the name the Omni King was a name that Herms came up with that the English dub used. He was not called the Omni King at any point in the Japanese version of Super. They don't actually call him that. It's Zeno, the king of everything. The king of, the king of all, the king of all, the king of all. That's what it translates to. Literal translation, king of all, king of everything. But Herms comes up with the Omni King and it's used in the dub. And to this day, I remember I would talk to Herms about it and be like, your name is now official.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah,
that's a crazy motherfucker, bro. I'm not even going to tell you about my contributions as Hermit of Power. That's between me and Funimation, but there were a few. And no, the Jiren line about hating dragons, don't blame me for that one, bro. That was not I told him that shit was stupid as fuck. So here we have Goku and Zeno being buddies. Basically, long story short, this sets up a Tournament of Power. Zeno is upset because they did a tournament without his permission between Beerus and Champa. And he's like, I want to see all the universes fight. So this is a setup for the next, not the next arc, but the arc after the Tournament of Power. So that's all this is.
There's an article on the Dragon Ball Super official website where they use this panel of like Goku and Zeno like grabbing hands and like,
the handshake.
Hands. Yeah. They use that panel because a lot of people wonder why Zeno likes Goku so much.
There's a lot of reasons, but you want to tell them? It's pretty easy to figure out, I think.
So, in Zeno's case, and they talk about this on the Dragon Ball official website, the reason he likes Goku so much is because Goku is pure of heart. And
to simplify it, I thought it was because he has a kid-like enthusiasm.
Well, on the website they specify it's because of his pure heart, which I find interesting because that kind of goes into what we learn about mortal development and what their intentions are with mortal development in the Black Arc as well. Because you end up finding out in the next arc, and this is something a lot of people don't understand or pick up on in the Goku Black Arc, you end up finding out in the next arc that Goku is essentially kind of like what the gods are trying to make. Like, and that's part of the reason that Zeno likes Goku is because in terms of like moral development and what their priorities are in terms of like making mortals, Goku, they already like established this way back in Dragon Ball whenever Goku met Kami for the first time. And Kami was like, and that's something you got to think about whenever you're thinking about Zeno and moral development and their priorities in terms of like how the gods develop mortals and what their priorities are for them. If you remember all the way back in the original Dragon Ball, Kami tells Goku, he's like, you are the type of mortal that we are trying to create on Earth. And if it wasn't for you being the type of mortal that we're trying to create on Earth, I wouldn't bring the Dragon Balls back. But because you exist, you give me hope that the Earthlings have potential to develop into the type of life form that I want the Earthlings to develop into. Zeno has that same sort of attitude towards Goku. He sees Goku and he's like, wow, maybe mortals can become something akin to what I want out of them. And that's the reason that he likes Goku. So,
yeah. No, I mean, there's no argument there. I do love, like, my favorite thing about this Goku Zeno thing is that every single god is scared to death of him because he can wipe them out in an instant. It's the one person Beerus is afraid of. Down here in the lower left, he tells Goku, like, hey, this guy could decimate in a universe in the blink of an eye. He's way stronger than I am, and even you. And everyone's bowing to him, and Goku's just like, like, what's wrong with y'all? And that's kind of why Goku becomes friends with Zeno. I want to talk about psychology here for just a moment. All right. We actually have the Trunks arc still to come here. I guess these Mangalorians might be a little bit longer because the volumes are longer, or is there more to talk about? What do you think?
I mean, there's plenty to talk about, but it's fine that it's a little bit longer. It's no big deal. I try to
keep it short.
I don't think it gets too heavy into the Black Arc. I think it stops pretty early before any crazy.
No, it does. Yeah. It does. Yeah, it's similar to what they did in the anime. But what I wanted to talk about briefly, I had to get on camera for this, or on full cam, is the psychology behind Goku and Zeno. So a long time ago, a buddy of mine named Alvin, when I was doing interviews with all the actors of Dragon Ball, they were like, how the hell do you get these interviews, and aren't you like scared to talk to them? And I'm like, no. And I had to explain to him, I'm like, there's not a single celebrity. Actually, let me take that back. There's probably one or two, but most celebrities I am not afraid to talk to, because one of the things that I recognize is that every human being is exactly the same. We're all human beings. We breathe the same air. We bleed the same. We have the same organs. We're all the same. Right. And the minute that you start like worshiping, or the minute that you start pedestaling an actor or a voice actor or anybody, the minute you start doing that, they lose subtle respect for you. They might never tell you, but they're going to lose subtle respect for you. I don't know how many times in my Discord, Jordan, you can vouch for this, I have told certain people who I'm not going to name to stop kissing my ass. I don't like it. It comes off fake. I do not. If you want to be my friend and actually be my friend, kissing my ass, it's one thing to like compliment the videos. Hey, I like this video or whatever. That's fine. But there's people who like take it a step further, and it's very off-putting. The same thing goes with women. How many times have there been a situation where you like a girl, you try too hard, you over pursue, and she doesn't hook up with you? This is a human nature thing. Dragon Ball is an illustration of that. The entire multiverse is afraid of Zeno, and Goku's like, doesn't seem so bad.
Right.
It's very powerful stuff.
Yeah,
bro.
He's humanizing Zeno. Yeah, for sure.
It's powerful, dude, and it's and he's immortal. He is a mortal. So what happens is they summon the Super Shenlong.
That reminds me. You remember that clip that you shared on Twitter that I sent you forever ago of like Sun Wukong just like walking up to Buddha like it's nothing, and they like referenced the Toei Animation referenced the background for that scene where Sun Wukong and Buddha meet for like
for Daima, right? With
it was for the aesthetic of the where Zeno's palace. Like
the palace.
Yeah, right. There's just like space behind it and like pillars everywhere. It's a very, very similar thing here where Goku, he doesn't necessarily look at Zeno as anything other than just another being, another life form.
Yep.
Uh,
He
he
doesn't
doesn't
pedestal him.
Yeah, he doesn't think of Goku as like something great, or he doesn't think of Zeno as something greater than him. But the difference between how that's portrayed in Journey to the West in comparison to how Goku is portrayed is that not only did Sun Wukong think that the gods weren't anything special, he also thought that he was superior to them. Whereas Goku doesn't feel that way. He's just like,
Right.
oh, you're like a cool guy. Like this seems fine.
As long as you show respect, that's Goku's whole thing. As long as you show respect, and in the real world, if you talk to a celebrity, if you're respectful to them, there are assholes everywhere. Most of them they'll be cool with you. I want to address this real quick. He said, and this is something I want to briefly talk about. 6401. I basically got to experience all of Z from video games. There's this one really cool DS game where you can experience the early Z when Bulgaria meets Bulgaria meets Goku, and it was animated well in 3D.
Oh, you mean Bulma, probably. Well, no, he said early Z. Yeah.
He's in Bulgaria, bro, like the country next to Russia, bro. Okay, I have to take you to task about this. One of the things that I fucking hate, no offense to you, brother, this is not anything based on your character, is when motherfuckers say, well, I experienced Dragon Ball Z by playing so-and-so. No, you did not. No, you did not. You didn't. I don't give a fuck if you have played Kakarot 850 times. If you have not actually watched the anime or read the manga, you ain't experienced shit. Because that attitude right there, bro, is literally why we have so many knuckleheads in the fandom. They don't watch the fucking series. Instead, they go to YouTube and look up the fights. Oh, cool, bro. Look at that fight. Have no context for anything. The worst kind of fan. It's one thing if you got into Dragon Ball with the video games and later you saw the anime. That's okay. And if you're like that, no problem. If you're like that, no problem. But if your only experience with Dragon Ball is playing the games, we can't even have a discussion.
Right. There's so much nuance to Dragon Ball that like you can't experience everything about it through the games because the games just don't have that degree of
nuance. Impossible. It's not, but you can't. Like, it's literally impossible. And I'm not trying to pick on OS 6401. This is more of an issue I have with the greater fandom, which is this idea of, well, I don't have to watch Dragon Ball Z. I can just play Budokai and look at the clips. Well, it's too many episodes. And it's like, I can't even have a conversation with you because if we have a conversation, you're not going to know. Well, okay,
right. You don't have the context to properly have the type of conversations that we have. Man, so I hate that you're so broke that you can't buy the DVD. That sucks. I hate to hear that.
Hold on. No, hold on. He says no money or way to get my hands on the DVD. So he's basically saying that he's never seen Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, OS, only played through the games. Yeah.
You haven't experienced shit. No offense, but brother, you have not experienced this fucking series. There's nothing wrong with starting off with a video game, but if you don't I literally told him that he hasn't experienced shit, and he responds with, I got to experience the story and lore they put into it through the games. They didn't put this is the kind of Dragon Ball fan that I hate, bro. No offense, bro. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal, bro. This is not anything against you, but this is the kind of Dragon Ball fan that I fucking hate, bro. Well, I don't have to watch the anime. I played the game. I know everything. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about. None. That's number one. Number two, you're telling me that you can't fucking experience Dragon Ball when it's available on the internet in a million different ways.
Hey, you know what? I have an idea. I have an awesome idea. You know what you can do? You can go watch Danny's streams on Twitch.
He should be there every Saturday, but guess what? Yeah. He can't because we started 4 years ago and Dragon Ball was 4 years ago and they're gone now.
Oh well, yeah. Well, you should still go tune in. Like,
I've seen the old school movies and saw the Kai version. You haven't fucking seen the goddamn show. Stop arguing. Stop. Like, now I'm getting pissed off. Like, now I'm getting pissed. I'm calmly telling the guy, listen, if you played the video games, okay, they're fine. Now you have to watch the show or read the manga. And he's still arguing with me. Well, no, bro, I ain't got to do that shit. I already saw the movies.
Yeah, like, it kind of comes back to
this is the shit that pisses me off.
It kind of
this type of bullshit. Dog, this is like if I went up to LeBron James and was like, yeah, I played NBA Live 2022. Let me teach you how to slam dunk a basketball.
Right.
I calmly tried to explain it to him, and he's still fighting with me. Even though everything's on the internet for free. Pirate it if you have to. I don't give a fuck. Fuck Toei. Fuck Shueisha. Pirate it. Go ahead, Jordan.
Oh, I was just going to say, this kind of comes back to what Toriyama's editor said here recently, where it's like you can't really have a conversation about Dragon Ball unless you've read the manga like 10 times. You know, and the manga is actually like way easier to access than the anime too. Like you can literally just go pay $2 a month for Shonen Jump, and you have basically the whole manga at your disposal. So that would be my suggestion. If you're broke,
and please and don't tell me you don't have $2, bro, because Lord knows you can take $2 out of your OnlyFans piggy bank and fucking read Dragon Ball. Let's keep it
right. I'm pretty sure the Shonen Jump app is just $2 a month. So
yeah, and either way, there's tons of ways to watch the series. And he's saying all I have to do is buy the whole old school collection and watch it. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. There's a billion ways to watch the shit for free.
Right. I would just, to me, if I, my personal advice, just pay the $2 a month. Read it.
All I'm trying to do, bro, I'm trying to do with my entire channel going back 11 years is to make people stronger Dragon Ball fans and to make them real fans. When somebody argues with me who hasn't even seen the goddamn show, bro, now we're going to levels, bro, where it's like, bro, wait a minute. He says these things weren't around in the early 2000s. So what you're telling me is that you've had 26 years to watch Dragon Ball Z and you haven't done it? Whose fault is that, bro? You're telling me you've had 26 years to buy Dragon Ball on DVD or downloading it. You're telling me that you have had 25 years. Whose fault is that? You know what? Let's move on.
The manga's a good read, though. I definitely would suggest it.
I'm just done talking to this guy, bro, because now it's like, now I'm starting to get angry because this is one of those people that's like, I can't be like this, bro. I just can't. I can't be like that.
Yeah, I understand.
I just can't. I can't. Like with anything. I can't. If somebody tells me who's an expert, yeah, you don't know shit, you should watch this, right? You should watch this. And then you're arguing with me, oh, well, I played the games. And I'm like, let's just move on, bro.
Right.
All right. This is the part where Goku shakes the Galactic King stick. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit shorter than the rest of them. That's why you can tell it's probably not one of his tentacles.
But you haven't seen the show. Jordan, didn't I literally say he's one of those guys that looks up the fights on YouTube? And he says, yeah. I can do that whenever. Then why don't you do it today, bro? How about this? Why don't you start watching Dragon Ball today? When we're done with this stream, start watching Dragon Ball. Start with episode 1. I don't want to hear excuses. Start watching or reading Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And actually, Gaming Hub UK can help you with that. No, I'm not gonna ban him. Bro. But like, I'm done. Like, if I am gonna ban you if you continue saying, "Oh, but I saw a YouTube video that explains the story." All right, Moving on, chapter 14, SOS from the future. This is the beginning of the Trunks arc. Jordan, I remember, and yes, I do get mad at this shit because it's like, fuck, bro. Oh, this guy right here. This guy, I love Gaming Hub UK, bro. He gets just as mad as I am. Anyways, I remember when this story first broke that they were going to do the Trunks arc with evil Goku. It broke at like 4 a.m. Eastern, and I woke up to it, and I was like, what the fuck? Remember the poster where it was like Goku Black smiling with the Potara?
Yeah, dude, Goku Black was a big deal back in the day.
It was evil Goku, bro, and the return of Trunks. This was a story that was suggested by Akio and the Shueisha crew to bring Trunks back. Here's Trunks. I think, now I will say this, Jordan. I do believe that this is the arc where Trunks really where Toyotaro stepped it up.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, it kind of seemed like they gave him permission to tell more of a story in this section of Super. So,
yeah, I think he stepped it up. So here we have Trunks, and he's facing off against a mystery assailant, which by this point the anime had already been around. Like, this arc was already not old, but it was already way further along. Actually, if I remember correctly, it was almost done in the anime when this was coming out, right?
Yeah.
Cuban Superman, bro. Cuban Superman. Look at this guy. I love Gaming Hub UK, bro. Anyways,
that's a double-edged sword in terms of that attitude. But
in terms
of wow, look at that freaking mushroom cloud, bro. Holy shit.
Yeah, and it's orange. I like how you're like, stop looking at the chat and look at the manga, you fuck. That's what you're trying to do, bro. I know what you're trying to do. No, that the shit that actually irks me, bro. And people are trying to help the guy out, so that's good. So, anyways, moving on. So Trunks is here. We have the introduction of Mai. Now, this whole Trunks and Mai love thing. Obviously, this whole thing's based on Terminator, but remember, Mai is a woman who's mentally in her 60s, but because she wished to become a kid again, she like regrew. So she has the body of a woman in her like 30s or 40s, but is mentally in her 60s. That's weird. I've always found it weird. I'm not saying that it's offensive or anything like that, but it's just weird to me.
Yeah, it's not an uncommon trope. It happens pretty often. I mean, you got like vampires and time travelers and immortals, and you know.
That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. So they're hiding out from this mysterious opponent this mysterious enemy we don't know yet. They're eating dog food and shit, just not good. This whole thing is illustrating basically the fact that the future is kind of fucked, and what do you call it? But Trunks remembers, hey, like this is like I still might be able to get help from the past.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he remembers, like, you know, my father and everybody else is still alive in the other timeline. And all of a sudden, Jocko appears to talk to Bulma about the dangers of time travel. So ironic, this is all happening at once. This scene, I don't think it was in the anime. A lot of the Trunks arc. Now we're going to get to a part of the Trunks arc where a part of the manga where they really do go, where they really
there too, which is interesting.
All right, you're out of here, bro. Because now I feel like I wasted my time. Oh shit, I banned the wrong guy. It says that I banned. It says that I banned. What's his name? Hubuk. But I know I did because this thing is stupid. No, because I'm actually mad now because I straight up explained to this kid why he has to watch the series and he's still going on with it's basically the same thing. So you're out of here, bro. Let me tell you why I'm banning you, because I don't want to see your comments anymore. Like,
Right.
I lost my temper and I explained to you why what you're doing is stupid and you're still arguing. So it's like, get out of here then. You don't belong here, bro. Go watch somebody who's more on your level. And I know that sounds condescending as fuck, but I mean, I tried. Let me see if I can get Hubuk unbanned. In the meantime, do you want to talk about this time travel shit? Because they're trying to explain the timeline travel here.
Yeah, so Dragon Ball uses what's known as time stream theory. Okay, it's a very particular form of time travel that is used in a lot
His version of it, yeah.
It's used in a lot of fiction, actually. It was used in the Avengers. There's actually a book called The Time Stream that is kind of the purveyor of this concept. There's a lot of different versions of time travel in fiction. We've seen that with like Back to the Future and stuff like that. But particularly, what they're trying to explain here is how time stream theory in itself works. And time stream theory is essentially the idea that once you basically like create an event that detracts from the original events in a timeline, that timeline branches off into a new timeline instead of changing the events of that timeline. It's basically the same thing that the Hulk talks about in the Avengers whenever they have that whole conversation with, oh, that's not how time travel works. It's not like Back to the Future. It's basically that. They're basically like giving the same sort of explanation here, except they're doing it through Trunks' teacher teaching Bulma and the Pilaf gang how this time travel concept actually works. So that's what's happening.
Hubuk, you are unbanned. So you should be back now. Sorry about that. I literally have my finger on that guy's name and it and the stupid chat scrolled up. I hate that, bro. Like, I hate that. That's happened before. Random hero who decided to bring back Future Trunks. Akio suggested it. Yes, you are back. Akio suggested it, and Toriyama wrote the story. So yeah, now what Jordan's talking about is through Bulma's time machine. Through Bulma's time machine is what he's talking about.
Yeah, Bulma's time machine, and that's something that's really cool about what Dragon Ball does with time travel is there's actually different forms of time travel. There's not just one version of time travel, but Bulma's time machine is OP in comparison to the other forms of time travel in the sense that it's almost like a multiverse generator. It's not necessarily just a time machine. I mean, it is a time machine, but it doesn't just travel through time. When they travel through time using the time machine particularly, it can generate an entirely new multiverse, and that's part of the reason that it's so dangerous. So
yeah, I think Jordan just explained this. Time travel is a major problem because if you have access to control time, you can go back and change your fate or change someone else's, and it's just too much. I mean, it's no offense, Justin, it's pretty obvious. Like it's like the TVA in Marvel. Like that's if you have access to be able to go back in time and you make a change, you could fuck something up. But what Jordan's talking about though is you're going to create a split timeline. And that's going to cause other problems, which is actually what this entire story arc is about. The split timeline birthed Trunks' future and Goku Black. Well, actually, really, it birthed the main timeline because Trunks' future was the original timeline before he went back. So I hope that makes sense. I did a video called Dragon Ball Time Travel Explained all the way back in 2016. So go check that out.
Yeah,
go check it out.
Mega J says the gods are like time cops. A little bit, yeah. The Time Patrol in Xenoverse are literally that.
That they literally are, yeah. And Whis is really the one that's like, Whis is really the one that's like telling them be careful. Now, Bulma brings up Whis reversing time during Golden Frieza, but that's different. That it talks about the 3-minute reset, the temporal do-over is what they call it. That does not create a new timeline. That just reverses the one you're in now. So the time rings allow you to travel through time in one timeline. Bulma's time machine takes you back and creates a split, and then Whis' thing just reverses time. So Toriyama put 3 different time travel methods in the series, not even including the games.
Right.
So yeah. Thank you, Flash Harris. All right, now moving on. I love Trunks with the shotgun. This is such Terminator shit.
This is
world,
just the Terminator. Yeah.
That's all it is, because in a world that's fucking, they got key blast and shit, shotguns aren't going to do anything, bro. I know she has one, but it doesn't matter. So
he
it's
even
cutting
has a
between,
trench coat like
Kyle Reese in them.
Yeah. Like it literally is like the same thing. Like it's crazy.
Terminator, yeah. So they keep going back and forth. Here we have a discussion about Zeno and how strong they are. They're all
I
together.
like this discussion because it's basically Zeno. It's basically we saying you guys think about strength as nothing but strength. You don't think about it in terms of power. You think about people being physically strong, but that's not what Zeno is. Zeno can just erase everything in an instant. That's what makes him powerful. He's not a martial artist. He just has enough energy to erase everything. So
he's just a destroyer. That's all he is.
Yeah.
Now, this is actually where Whis reveals there used to be 18 universes and that Zeno deleted 6 of them. So that's obviously a thread that people were interested in that we never saw another follow-up to. But it keeps cutting back and forth between the present and the past. I think they're doing that. Toyotaro did that just to illustrate that there's 2 things going on and that he wanted to show Goku and Beerus in them and tease the tournament of power. Meanwhile, in the future, Trunks is trying to maneuver his way through without being spotted. Goku Black is again, it's very much like the scenes in Terminator where Kyle Reese is thinking about the future. It's the same thing. So he's ready to fight.
Even here in a second when Goku Black comes out of the flames or whatever, it's exactly like when the T-1000 was walking out of the freaking flames.
No, you're thinking of Terminator 1 when the T-800, when his skin melts and he walks.
Oh yeah, T-800. My bad, not the
T-1000. Yeah.
T-800.
Because that's the part where she thinks it's over and then he rises.
Yeah. This arc is so Terminator coded, it's crazy.
Yeah, and notice that they're purposely not showing Goku Black, they have him in the shadows, which I think is smart. But like we talked about, when this was first coming out, it we already knew all this. It was because the manga at this point was far behind the anime, because it was monthly. That's why, because it's monthly and not weekly. So now we see the feet of Black. Trunks and Mai together. Black fires a shot that looks like it may have killed Mai or at least hurt her. She's down. This is where they start showing that Trunks really cares about her. Sorry about that. And then this is the reveal of Goku Black. Now in the anime version, he's like, "It's over for you, Saiyan," but here he just says Trunks. So
Cuban Superman said the T-1000 does walk through the flames when the semi-truck explodes after the mall chase.
Right.
That's true, but but Danny is right. I was thinking of the T-800. He's right.
Yeah, the T-800, it was in the first movie. They did the same thing twice. Because remember, the T-1000 had to regenerate.
Yeah, that's right.
But I love the T-800 scene because you think it's over. And remember, that's a great movie, bro. She thinks it's over. And remember, she hasn't fully bought into the fact that Kyle Reese is from the future and that this thing's a machine. But when you see all the skin having melted and the skeleton rise up, she's like, oh my God, he wasn't lying. He really is a machine. That was the ultimate, it's very similar to when they revealed the Queen in Aliens. Again, same director, James Cameron. It's that cinematic magic. Okay, final boss time, and he's walking towards you and shit. Anyways, This is Goku Black. Chapter 15, Hope Once Again. So Goku Black and Trunks have a fight. Trunks is obviously stronger.
Trunks goes into Super Saiyan 2.
Yes, Trunks learned Super Saiyan 2. Now, earlier, that idiot who wants to play the video games early and not watch the series, he would probably fuck this up. If you play one of the Budokai games, it says that Trunks has Super Saiyan 2. That's false. That's incorrect information. Trunks did not have Super Saiyan 2 at any point in Z. It wasn't until Super that he got it. But if you play the video games and that's all you play, you're going to be a dumb fuck and think that's in the story because the video games also make mistakes.
Yep.
So, yeah. Goku Black and Trunks battling it out. Black is much stronger, but Trunks is holding his own. This fight, I think, is decent. I wouldn't say it's that great. It's definitely, I think, there's a lot more meat to it.
Here's what I like about it. It shows that Black is like toying with his food. Right. Like it gives like an explanation as to why Trunks has gotten so strong. Because if he's been dealing, I don't remember how long it's been. I think it's been a couple years that he's been dealing with something like this. If he's been dealing with something like this for this long, just having somebody like Goku Black just toy with him and like play with him and just, walk up, nearly kill him, and then, come back later and try again. It really does a good job explaining why Trunks is as strong as he is. Because if you're going through something like that, you would get stronger. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And also, it's established in the anime and manga that Black in his base form is like a monster. So,
well, Black's body was stolen by Zamasu
spoiler, Jordan. No, go ahead.
Right after the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. So Goku's body was in the same shape that it was in right after the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament. So yeah, Goku Black would be very strong, ridiculously strong. Now he doesn't have the energy control or the martial arts prowess that Goku has yet.
But yeah, he learns it as he goes through.
Strong. Yeah.
Yeah. This fight actually gets more interesting when the sword gets involved. But Black is just too much for him. And here Black tries to kill him with the sword. I do think that this version of the fight's better than the anime. There are things about the manga that I do like more than the anime when it comes to this arc, but not everything. Trunks is able to basically use his sheath. Is that what it's called? A sheath?
Yeah, it's a sheath. Yeah.
Sheath. That's right. And then he creates he blasts the ground like Frieza would to basically create smoke so he can get out of the way. He's now trying to retreat, and bam, he finds the time machine. He wants to go back in time. Now, Goku Black has no idea about that time machine. None. We got 4 super chats I'm going to get to in a minute. I'll get to your super chats in a moment, y'all. Goku Black fires the dark purple Kamehameha, but Trunks hits the button right before the blast hits, and Goku and Vegeta are training, and boom, Trunks appears in the past. We were just talking about time travel, Trunks. What a coinky dink. He shows up, and this is where, and he's passed out. And then Trunks, for the first time ever, sees Trunks. Jordan, you know that, like, since I was a kid, when I saw Dragon Ball Z, I was dying for there to be some story where the two Trunkses meet.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I first saw this, I was like, finally, this is cool. Yeah. I had similar feelings back in the day. Yeah.
What are they going to think about each other? So Trunks sees Goku, and I guess he forgot that Goku Black is Goku's body, tries to attack him. Goku just grabs his fist
he's
like
so
nothing.
Traumatized from being freaking tortured by Goku Black for years,
And the androids before him. Trunks has had it hard, bro. This man has had a tough life. So Trunks gets emotional seeing Bulma because she's not dead in this timeline. And Whis is like, oh, he traveled through time. This is
the problem.
Yeah. The problem. Yeah. And then Trunks explains that he was able to defeat Majin Buu by never letting him be awakened. He was never awakened, and he was able to beat Dabura and Babidi. So that's good that he got that out of the way. And here Whis reiterates about the time machine thing. He's like, oh, you created a time machine, Bulma. Didn't I just tell you can't do that? And she's like, yeah, but that wasn't me. That was the other me. Even though this Bulma, of course, has the intellect to do it.
Yeah.
So here is when Trunks explains to Vegeta and Goku that there's a mystery opponent in the future now, a villain who's fucked everything up, destroyed planets, been running amok, and it's Goku Black. So this is kind of the introduction of what's going on, who this is, and Goku wants to spar with Trunks to see how strong he got. Here, Trunks goes to Super Saiyan 2, and Goku starts off also in Super Saiyan 2.
Yeah, and this is another thing that people misunderstand.
There's Goku using his finger to block the sword like he did in Dragon Ball Z episode 123.
They think that there's another. People also make Trunks out to be stronger than he is here. The reason Trunks can fight so well as a Super Saiyan 2 is because he has more potential as a hybrid than Goku does in
Like
terms of his
Gohan.
ability to tap into power into power as a regular Super Saiyan. Okay, so here in a second we'll see that Trunks can keep up with Goku's Super Saiyan 3 and Super Saiyan 2. And I remember a lot of people were very, very confused about that. They're like, how is that even possible?
They have to remember that these are multipliers.
They think about them as strictly multipliers when really that's not the case.
But if you have a higher base, go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, and we see this with the anime, particularly because we got Super Saiyan Rage, but
right.
Goten, Trunks, Gohan, the hybrids can pull more power from Super Saiyan than the normal Saiyans can,
because of the emotion
involved.
Not
just that his base is stronger, it's that their Super Saiyans or their Super Saiyan transformations literally can be more potent. Like they can draw more power from Super Saiyan than
because of the emotions of being part human. That's why.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
The S cells, Toriyama explained later.
Yeah, and you have to remember that, again, as Vegeta established earlier against Cabba, that rage is the source of a Super Saiyan's power. And that goes back to what Danny was just saying. You know, the hybrids can just tap into more power through their emotions in Super Saiyan than generally the regular Saiyans can. Now, here in a second, you'll notice that Goku uses Super Saiyan God to take down Trunks. And that's another thing that I want to acknowledge is that until we see Goku use Super Saiyan God, he is not using the battle power of Super Saiyan God against Trunks. And a lot of people overscale and overpower Trunks because they see Trunks being able to handle Super Saiyan 3. And he is very strong. I'm not saying that he's not strong, but he's not Super Saiyan God level is what I'm getting at. Like he can bring out more power than Goku can using Super Saiyan 2, but he doesn't have that base Super Saiyan God power or the key control to tap into that type of power.
And look what Trunks said, I've trained myself to death. He's worked hard. I love that Super Saiyan 3 panel right there. And of course, like you said, this sort of fallacy that, well, it doesn't make sense that Super Saiyan 2 surpasses 3. Well, no, it does, especially when it comes to rage boosts and things of that nature. Vegeta, when the My Bulma scene happened and Roshi says that he surpassed Goku, in that split second, he did. And that's just how it is. And people seem to have this problem because they think that based on like their own sort of ability or inability to understand how this works and follow the narrative, they feel like when you become a Super Saiyan, it automatically puts you at a certain level where you can defeat people that are beneath. And it's not that simple usually. Bardock, as a Super Saiyan, could not beat Frieza in his fourth form. Goku could, but not Bardock because his base was lower. So it's not always about the form. Plus, we know that Super Saiyan 3 has handicaps and problems and things like that. But look, right here, Trunks powers up, and Vegeta says he's as strong as Kakarot Super Saiyan 3 and 2. So Super Saiyan 2 Trunks is as strong as Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and that's a big deal because guess what? He doesn't have the stamina problems.
Right. That is a huge deal. Yeah. And Trunks also says Trunks also says that he never believed that Super Saiyan 2 was his limit either, which is interesting.
And of course, later he gets Ikari, but that's a anime only thing. So
yeah.
I don't know if that's going to be in the remake. I know they're going to make changes though. Okay, so this conversation here where Beerus and Whis leads to Beerus revealing that. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. He reveals that this is where he reveals. This is a big deal, by the way, that the Kaioshin, the gods of creation, are linked with the Hakaishin, the gods of destruction. So if one of them dies, the other one dies, and vice versa, and the angel becomes disabled. So this is why there's no gods of destruction in its future timeline, because somebody killed the Kaioshin.
Yeah, they assassinated them one by one, which is interesting. Yeah.
Right. And he says, God of destruction no longer exists. Now, what I never understood, Jordan, and it's an unanswered question, is when all this was going on, when Black was wiping out all of the gods of destruction and the Kaioshin and all that, why the fuck didn't Zeno or the Grand Priest do something about that? I don't understand that. Like, were they just not there?
To me, okay, so you remember how when Toriyama said that it kind of comes back to what Gowasu teaches Zamasu in the next volume, which we'll talk about. The gods are supposed to be hands off, meaning that the gods, in their view, believe that the mortals themselves will never grow or experience anything that causes growth if they're. It comes back to what Kami said to Goku. He's like, you guys have to solve your own problems, right? If mortals aren't capable of solving their own problems, then they're not developing into anything that.
But Jordan, Jordan, he's killing other gods. This is going beyond mortal problems.
But Zeno looks at the gods as his mortals. He does not care whether or not they die, because if they die, it means that they didn't develop to a point that they're worth keeping around. It's the same reason.
Yeah, but these guys were assassinated.
It's the same reason that he's willing to erase all 12 universes. He does not care. Okay.
Well, you're right that he doesn't care.
Yeah, literally in this next arc, he's like, I'll erase all the universes. Like, none of them are developing. Like, who cares? Like, of course, there was the 4 that had shown some form of development. But Zeno, if the universes aren't developing, he has no motivation to keep them around. And the way that Zeno looks at the angels and the gods are just his servants. They're just there to promote whatever he's trying to accomplish within the universes. And you have to remember that the gods of destructions were also all once mortals. Okay, they were mortals who developed into something that they could use as a weapon in terms of being a god of destruction, used for a job. But they're still mortals that Zeno has domain over in terms of like how he looks at them. They may have become gods, but they became gods. They're not born gods. There's a hierarchy here. And so when Zeno looks at the gods of destruction, he looks at beings that are still developing. He doesn't consider the gods of destruction beings that are completely developed. They are still learning and growing as well. So if something like this happens in the multiverse, he sees that as a side effect of their actions. Meaning, if there's a god like Zamasu running around killing everybody, obviously it's probably the god's fault. So he feels no need.
Yeah, I understand that. But what about the Grand Priest?
The Grand Priest doesn't feel that way either. Like he as a matter of fact, in the Tournament of Power arc, he's the one that's like, you know what, Zeno, like the universes aren't developing. We should just erase them. And then Zeno's agrees. So, and they talk about this a bit in the Moral arc as well. When right before Mirrors gets erased, he looks at Goku and he says, I was born an angel, being destined to stay within the lines of good and evil, or basically he says the angels are beings that are destined to exist in a domain, a neutral space outside of the concept or beyond the concept of good and evil. And right. Zeno and the angels they're the same. They're basically the same thing in that sense. The reason that they're hands off is because they're neutral. They make an effort to remain neutral, and constantly coddling the mortals is basically counterintuitive to their goal of mortal development. And so, and it really doesn't seem like they're worried about universes existing in general, to be honest. Like the only reason they want the universes to exist is in the hopes that they're going to develop some type of mortal that they're looking for in terms of like what Zeno's priorities are. And it's the same reason that like somebody asked earlier, you know, if Goku was erased in the Tournament of Power, or if Goku failed in the Tournament of Power, would Zeno erase him? And the reason the answer is yes, despite the fact that Goku has a pure heart, is because if Goku lost the Tournament of Power to Zeno, that meant that he didn't have the potential to develop, and that all of that potential that he saw in Goku to be this type of mortal that he idolized would be a farce. It wouldn't be true. If Goku lost the Tournament of Power, it meant that he basically proved that he wasn't what Zeno thought he was, and that it would be, you know, he wouldn't care to keep him around at that point. So really, all Zeno cares about is developing life that he particularly considers worth keeping around. If a universe or life forms within that universe exist that don't fit Zeno's standards, he's just going to erase them. You know, so that's to me why he didn't get involved, because all of this stuff is happening in a way to basically just like show, why time travel and the other things that the mortals do that is considered illegal or wrong within the laws of the gods, why it's wrong. Because
none of this would have happened if it wasn't for time travel. Literally.
Right.
That's an example right there of why it's bad. No, I mean, that makes sense. Whoever made that rule, whether it be Rymus or Zeno or whatever, they knew, like, okay, this is something had to have happened, which maybe someday we'll get an answer to it, you know?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So Pale Gray says, but Zeno cares about Beerus and Champa hosting a tournament, but not them being killed. No, it's different. He cared about them in the sense that they did the tournament without his approval. But when he goes to the tournament, he's like, this is fun. I want to have my own tournament. Remember, Zeno is basically a little kid. He just wants to be entertained. At the beginning of the Tournament of Power arc in the anime, we see him like playing pool with the planets, bro. Like he's jerking around the planets. He does not care about killing people. He just doesn't. But that's he's a little kid. He doesn't understand the consequences of being immortal. So now we're almost done. We have 6 super chats we're going to get to here. The big cliffhanger is that there are no gods alive in the future outside of, well, we find out later on. That Zeno is alive there, but that's a different thing. What they do with these last couple pages, this was a Toyotaro bonus chapter where it it showed a little bit more about the future timeline, and it showed how Pilaf became a kid, both in the regular timeline and the future timeline. At some point during the Android saga, the reason why we didn't see Pilaf and Z is because he wished for himself to be younger, and the dragon made them way younger into babies.
Yeah, and it also shows that Goku is in heaven in that timeline. Like he's around, you know. We don't see him. We don't see him because he's like in King Kai's realm or wherever, you know what I mean? But he is there, which is cool.
Right, but that of course brings up I'm going to do a whole video about this, why he didn't try to help in some way from the afterlife. That's a whole thing that needs to be broken down. So over here we basically have a little mini interview with Toriyama and Toyotaro. It's really mostly Toyotaro, and that's the end of volume 2. So a lot of stuff to talk about. Jordan, we got 6 super chats. Do you want to plug your manga? It's in the description right now, folks. Jordan's original manga is there. Do you want to plug?
Which one? Which one? Infinity or Keiko Daimon? Which one?
Infinity's there now. I can put Keiko Daimon too.
So if you don't mind,
there's 2 links.
If you don't mind, just pull up the files that I sent you. I'd like for them to just I just want them to like glance at the pages and watch one cut scene that I sent you, a video, and then that'll be the only bit of plugging that I do. We won't do much, but just kind of like give them a look at the manga, just like to give them an idea of what it is. And then there's also an animated scene that I sent for everybody to watch.
Well, wait, hold on, because
it's in that drive file.
Well, I know, but the link is not working. I don't know if I messed up or if Derek's site is down. But I also linked to the Google Voice.
Just go to the Google Drive file and go to the manga files that I sent you and just kind of pull up a few pages just so people can see it. Just get an idea of the art.
Hold on. Okay, this one right here.
Yeah. So you can just open up chapter 1 if you want. That's fine.
I have to download it.
Oh, will that take long?
I don't know.
All right, just download
it. Don't you have, what's this? This is the animated
That's the video thing that I wanted to show them because I figured they would love that. Yeah.
All right.
So this is a scene that I directed in animated form of the main character of my comic turning into a great ape. Now, the main character of my comic from Dragon Ball Infinity, if you go read Dragon Ball Infinity happened whenever Battle of Gods first came out. I was inspired by Dragon Ball Infinity. I had just recently started reading Journey to the West, and I had also started studying Egyptian mythology. and I found out that there's like crossover between stories in Egyptian mythology and Journey to the West. There's actually a monkey character in Egyptian mythology that is very, very similar to Sun Wukong. His name is Bobby, and he is the inspiration for this character that you see right here. He's essentially the Egyptian equivalent of Sun Wukong. And this is a scene where, and in Egyptian mythology, that character was also powered by the moon, which is very, very interesting. But this is a scene that I directed and created of my character turning Great Ape. So if you want to go ahead and play that, Danny, just so everybody can see.
All right, let's do it.
This is your boy Heesh, voicing Kaima, by the way.
I like this a lot.
Yeah, it's not good.
He's very controlled.
Yeah, I actually did the sound design for this. I actually had to do the editing for this. But the character who knocks out the main character there is actually Beerus's father in my story. Anyway, you guys can go watch that full animation on Rising Fist channel. We did that forever ago. We dubbed it and everything. But then also you can read the manga itself on the DialofDragonBall.com.
I want to say I updated the link in the description. The top link is down because Derek's site is down, but the second link where it says Dragon Ball Infinity Backup, that'll take you right to the Google Drive. So you can
you can download it. Yeah, you can download the entire manga for free. Read it. You know, awesome.
and watch that clip. You can watch that clip too.
Anyway, yeah, I wanted to plug it because that manga was kind of what started my whole thing into like the Dragon Ball YouTube space and the fandom and all that kind of stuff. I was heavily like inspired by Battle of Gods because it had Egyptian mythology and Chinese mythology, and those were two things that I was like really interested in at that time, and it sort of like inspired and birthed the story. And then I met Derek, and Derek was so impressed by the story that he published me and interviewed me, and yeah, it's been really cool. But anyway, definitely go check that out. It's for free to download. Also, Danny yesterday retweeted Keiko Daimon. I posted all of my latest comic on Twitter for everybody to read for free. And there's also a link there for you to download it for free as well if you go find the Twitter thread. If you follow Danny on Twitter, you can go find it there. But I figured I'd let you guys know about that as well because I just posted it yesterday for everybody to download for free. So
let me see if I can real quick bring that up. Also, hold on, I have to address this. Okay, actually, we didn't skip it. We covered that last week, bro.
Yep.
We covered that last week. Go watch last week's stream. We definitely covered it. It was a quick cover, but we definitely covered it. So this is it right here on Jordan's Twitter. This is Keiko Daima. You said there was a link at the bottom. This is very smart, by the way. You're gonna get paid well for this. This right here.
Yep.
So that's the link. Can I give that? Just give that to them then. Let me give that to them.
Yeah, that is a link the entire manga in high quality. That manga is a love letter tribute manga to all of Toriyama's works in manga form, not just Dragon Ball. It's got all different kinds of things from a bunch of different. Basically, it's almost like a Where's Waldo of Toriyama manga content. There's like so much references and deep context in terms of what Toriyama has done with his stories previously within Keiko Daimon. It's really cool. But the story is about a sort of like evil Gohan, Great Saiyaman style character based on, and I actually didn't create the character. Devil Kid is a character that Toriyama created. I just created the adult version of him. So the character is actually a character that Toriyama created. I just expanded on that character. Anyway, go check that out. It's got all kinds of really cool niche stuff, niche Toriyama manga stuff. And I definitely encourage you, if you're going to go read Keiko Daimon, to go read a bunch of Toriyama's one-shots and all of his other works as well, because it really does enhance your experience in terms of reading Keiko Daimon. So
the more Toriyama you read, the more you understand him. And that's a fact beyond just Dragon Ball. So we got 6 super chats. Let's get to them real quick. Kiryu says, I got into DB through Dokkan Battle. That's weird. And wanted to learn about the show and characters because I wanted to understand what was happening. So it just goes back to that when I went off on that guy earlier, which I don't regret. You can't play a video game and watch YouTube clips and experience the story. The minute you say, well, I experienced it through the video games. No, you haven't experienced shit. And if you want to argue with me about that, like, I'm not going to waste my time because you're arguing from an intellectually dishonest point of view and from an ignorant point of view. And there's enough people in this fucking fandom that argue from that ignorant point of view that I don't have time for it anymore. So the bottom line is, if all you've done with Dragon Ball is play video games, and you've never read the manga or seen the anime, dude, as much as I want people to watch it subbed, because I even tell people that dub fans haven't really experienced the show. But if you haven't even seen it dubbed, bro, that's like even more strange. And also, it's annoying to me. I don't like it. So Cuban Superman pirated. Fuck Toei. I agree. He can't sit there and say, all I got to do is buy the DVDs when Seed of Might's been around. Like, this idea that people don't know how to find shit on the internet, that's weird to me.
That was very strange.
I answered this one earlier already. It was a Kyo. Gabe says, Sumitomo gave us some banger scores for this arc. I agree. The Trunks arc is when Sumitomo really got good with his music. Yeah. And it carried over. Gabby says, SS Bardock couldn't even beat First Form Frieza. I believe you're right on that too. Like power level wise, you just couldn't. All right, last one from Most Cobra. Since DBS is mainly nostalgia based for the next arc, for the next arc, I want them to basically repeat the Demon King Piccolo arc, but with Universe 6, and you can throw Sadala in there if you want. But the Moro arc has aspects.
Yeah, the Moro arc is way too similar to the King Piccolo arc for them to do something like that again. And in terms of like DBS being nostalgia based, I do think it is nostalgia based, but I also think that Dragon Ball Z is nostalgia based. It's just, I don't think nostalgia should be the motivation for the story. I think that appealing to nostalgia has its purpose in terms of narrative. Meaning, if you're going to appeal to nostalgia, it needs to have some sort of narrative merit. You can't just appeal to nostalgia for the sake of it. I don't think that's good storytelling, so I don't necessarily agree with that. I would like to see Sadala in there, though.
And I think Dragon Ball does appeal to nostalgia maybe a little too much. I mean, bringing Cell Max and all that, I don't hate it. It's just very obvious that it's all marketing. As long as it's entertaining, that's all that matters. But whenever an old series comes back, you can appeal to nostalgia, but you have to evolve it. And I think the best example of this would be Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai took those 3 movies and actually made them better. The Karate Kid movies are better because of Cobra Kai.
They're enhanced as a side effect of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like Dragon Ball Super, I don't think Super has made OG and Z better, at least not yet. But I think there's still potential to it. Yeah, I don't. I think Z and Super are so far above. I'm sorry, Z and OG are so far above Super that
the way that they establish the gods and stuff, I think, does enhance it, in my opinion. But
yeah. Anyways, that's it for Volume 2. Volume 3 may be next week. I don't know. It depends on our schedule. It all comes down to that. I also want to get Jordan and Griffin on to discuss the Keiko Daimon, but I'm not sure if we should do that now or closer to when the anime, because like fucking the Galactic Patrol anime is not dropping until next year, so maybe that's a better time. But do you want to wait that long?
I'd say just whenever you're ready. Ideally, I would like to do it when I have a physical copy here to like pick up and show people.
Okay,
that'll be in like a week or so.
Well,
if you want to do it before then, that's fine. We can do it.
Why don't you send me a physical copy?
I will.
You should do that.
I am.
I want it. Derek sends me his books.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you a physical copy.
And I
ordered 120 copies, and you're definitely getting one of them.
Well, I appreciate that. You're gonna sell the rest of them, right? At what cons?
I'm not selling them. I'm giving them away. But yeah.
Okay. Because I was going to say, if this is something we can talk about later, but if I can get the Mangalorian, because I told you I talked to some people, even though it's all just talk, the Mangalorian at a convention, if you bring copies of Keiko Daimon and sell them for like, even if it's like $5-10, you might be able to get some new customers and make a little money. But that's obviously something that we have to talk about some other time. I'm just telling you, the guy who I talked to,
I would just like to promote the comic. If me and you had a live Mangalorean stream, I would probably just bring like 3 boxes of the comic just for people to pick up when they come into our thing.
But that's what I'm saying. You don't even have to sell them for 20, sell them for $10 and sign them. You do that, bro, you're gonna do great. But again, this is something that is very preliminary. I do have a convention I'm probably doing in June in Houston, but they talked to me about like them and another group about bringing one of my shows to like a live format. And I was thinking, when it comes to you, if you come with me and we do the Mangalorian, they are going to have to take care of your hotel and your flight, and that's just going to be a free trip. That's a free trip. And then you can sell Keiko Daimon. Yeah, and you can sell. Yeah, I that's something I have to negotiate that with them. That's something. I mean, obviously you can negotiate too, but I mean, once we get that done, then we can say, okay, we also need blah 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 blah. Because I think a live Mangalorian panel, I think, would draw some people, especially if we make it super nerdy.
Me too. If anybody is interested in picking up a physical copy of Keiko Daimon and you live near Kentucky, I will be at Lexington Comic-Con March 23rd March 23rd through March 26th.
You'll have physical copies by then.
Yeah, I'll have physical copies then. You guys can swing by and pick them up if you live near there. I'll be there running around with Griffin. We'll be giving out copies promoting Keiko Daimon. So if you guys want to swing by there and come see me at Lexington Comic-Con, I'll be there. So
yeah, definitely. And like I said, I cannot announce the con I'm going to be going to yet because I haven't signed the contract, but it's in Houston, Texas. That'll be later on in the year though. And I got a pretty cool, I got a couple of pretty cool panels I'll be doing. But yeah. All right, y'all. Well, thank you again for hanging out with us. Next time will be Volume 3. We will talk. Any final thoughts, bro?
No. I had a blast. Thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate it.
Check out Jordan's manga in the description. If the top link doesn't work, go to the backup link, which is the Dragon Ball Infinity backup. And and that should do it. Take care of yourself, and maybe I'll see y'all later this week. We'll see.